All right. Looks like we are live. Perfect. Hang on. Let me fix the screen. It looks to be a little bit squished. There we go. That is better. Okay. What's good, everybody? Come on. Come on in. Come one, come all. What's up, LNG? Not much. How are you doing? Let's let some more folk come in. We've already got 10 of you lovely lovelies. Yesterday was my wife's birthday. So we are still in the recovering process from the festivities. It was a very fun birthday. Okay. Let me change the description. Halo weapon tier list. Let's rank every single weapon in 2025. All right. Yeah, that's a pretty fun title. How are you guys doing, though? Burf. Love the ODST music. Yeah, I this was a last-minute addition, putting in some ODST music, because I didn't want it to literally just be silence and clicky-clackies, you know, of the keyboard. Tell her I said happy late birthday. Well, she's actually, she's over there on the couch. So I'm pretty sure that she can hear me out loud. Happy birthday, Mrs. LNG. I caught a good stream today. Drinking an energy drink right now. A V8 plus energy. Pomegranate blackberry. No, blueberry, sorry. Is this by debut or every version? I think we're not going to focus on the specifics. You know, we're not going to get too deep into the nitty-gritty. This is so far how I'm thinking of grading it. What do you guys think? I've got important, as in, like, this was a keystone weapon, super important to the game. This is, like, not important, but pretty great, you know? We got decent, where they do their job. They do their job. We got it's okay, you know, for the ones that are, you know, they're okay. Here, let's I think I've got the stream set to like a weird low resolution. So let me zoom in just a smidge so you guys can get like a really here. There we go. Okay. All right, I think that is decent. Happy birthday, Rebecca. So, okay, we're going to be ranking them not on, like, any specific version, like how were they at launch, more like just how are they now, you know? Ugh. Hi, says Ben Hardwick. Hello back. Snow day in VA today, so no law school no law school classes. Yeah, I think today for most of the school districts, it was like a 2-hour delay or something like that. This snow is like crazy in VA. I'm pleasantly surprised because it seems like the last couple of years, Virginia has just refused to have interesting levels of snow. Rebecca and I, we actually went outside and we made the first snowman in years. After the hard year that was last year for us, we were like, we need this. So we went outside and, like tiny children, we made a snowman, only with the, you know, with the problem-solving skills as an adult. And I must say, our snowman came out pretty damn well. We named him Hunter. The problem with Hunter started to come when he began to melt, but he wasn't like falling apart like most snowmen do, and he was starting to slouch. And then that second wave of snow hit, and we were like, oh, this is going to be awesome. Let's rebuild Hunter. We haven't even seen Hunter's true form. And so we smashed up Hunter, and we started to rebuild him, but then we got too cold. So we came inside, and then the snow froze overnight and became all ice. So now Hunter, the remains of Hunter are outside unmelted. And it's just like a reminder that we failed him. Did Hunter resemble a hunter? No. He was just like a little guy. He was just like a little guy. He had a smiley face. He had two little crumpled up leaves for eyes. We gave him a broom. He was just like a chill little guy. And we put him right outside our window so that if we ever looked outside, we could just see him smiling back at us. Will the ODST weapons be judged on their own ODST or Halo 3 multiplayer balancing? Definitely going to be weighting them on how they perform in ODST. I don't have enough experience with the Halo 3 multiplayer versions on the MCC. But, yeah, okay, I think we could maybe get started on this. What do you guys think? All right, so let's start with the first one on this list, the Halo Combat Evolved Assault Rifle. The Combat Evolved Assault Rifle, I think I'm going... So, let me try to break down the Combat Evolved Assault Rifle. It's pretty great in the campaign on most difficulties. And it's hard to talk about just because it performs differently on the Master Chief Collection than it does like the original Xbox released. On the Master Chief Collection, it actually has more spread, and it's more inaccurate than normal. And that problem actually gets worse the higher the frame rate is. So if you can play it on the Master Chief Collection, locking the game to 30 FPS, or, you know, the better alternative would be playing Halo Custom Edition with some of the restoration mods that return weapon balancing to, like, Combat Evolved original levels. The assault rifle's pretty great. It's not something that you're going to be using on, say, the second level of Halo if you're playing on, like, legendary difficulty. But as far as easy and normal are concerned, I think that it is a good enough weapon, especially for people who are new to Halo and they don't quite know what they're doing yet, and they just need like a gun that's super easy to use. It sprays out a ton of bullets. One of the biggest strengths, I think for it is that when you're playing the campaign on like those easy, normal, or heroic difficulties, because the Covenant will flinch and kind of stumble around if they take damage, this thing puts out so much damage per second that it pretty much stun locks down the Covenant that are trying to flee from you and makes them for like a really easy kill. I also think it helps that the sound design for it is fantastic. I think that the reload animation for it is great. It's got that HK slap that I wish would come back to the assault rifle in some form. I'm not even sure how you could do it, actually, to be honest, because I'm thinking Halo 3 is what created the current reload, right? Where it's magazine out, magazine in, bolt charged. Where Combat Evolved, it's a 4-piece reload, where he's got to pull the bolt back, then magazine out, magazine in, then slap. So they cut out one of those pieces so that they could speed up the animation a little bit. So I don't know. We're getting into the specifics. This thing is great. It's iconic. I'm going to put it right here. I worship the Halo CEAR. Glorious rifle. Awesome sound effects. Somehow carried 60 rounds, but that's fine. Yeah. It's great. And now the Halo Combat Evolved Magnum. I don't know about you guys. No, I do know. It's common sentiment that this thing is ridiculously overpowered, that it's one of the best weapons in any Halo game, and it's an opinion that I share with some people in the competitive scene, that this thing isn't actually overpowered. I think that it is perfectly designed the way it is. If it were to release any weaker, I don't think Combat Evolved would have taken off competitively in quite the same way. Or, let me put it this way, competitive Halo would be a very different kind of game now. What I think really works about the Combat Evolved pistol is it inadvertently works really well with Halo's 2-weapon limit. I heard somebody describe the Combat Evolved pistol as being an extension of the player in combat. So think about it like primary and secondary weapons. Your primary weapon is probably going to be the pistol. It's the one you're going to be doing most of your problem solving with. It's you. It's a part of you. But your secondary slot, that's where you reserve it for more situationally important weapons. The secret finds, the good hauls. You know, if you find a sniper rifle, grab that thing. If you find a rocket launcher, grab that thing. And the thing about also the pistol is it's not perfect in all situations. Like, it is great in all situations, but it's not going to out-snipe a sniper rifle. In close range, it's in all ranges, it's 3 shots to kill a Spartan. But if the enemy Spartan has a shotgun and you guys are in close quarters, like, you know, the pistol, maybe if the other player is bad, you can get the kill. But chances are you're going to be mowed down by that shotgun. But either way, the Magnum, I think, is fantastic in Halo 1. Where I think that it kind of falls short, at least in the campaign front, the campaign, I don't think it's the best weapon to use against the Flood. I think that the Flood move too fast and too sporadically, like their animations are very wild, and there are too many Floodlings for a single shot to make any kind of difference. So I think usually on the Flood levels, that's where you need something that is really good at just dishing out damage extremely quickly. Things like the plasma rifle, plasma pistol, or even the assault rifle. That's where that weapon actually really, really shines. But in some of the more traditional levels, the Magnum is super, super important to the combat. I think if it didn't exist, Halo would be a very different kind of game. So I'm going to put it important, if that's okay with you guys. Are you taking multiplayer into consideration? Yes, yes, yes. I am. And this is also something that is a habit I need to get out of. The Magnum was not called the Magnum until Halo 2. In Halo 1, it was just called a pistol. And then in Halo 2, they call it the Magnum. So it's a habit I'm trying to get out of, like referring to just the Halo 1 pistol as the pistol, and then all future versions of it as Magnums. But that's one of those things where doing Combat Evolved, that section for the evolution of Halo's Magnum, it's been tricky. I slipped up quite a few times and called it the Magnum. But okay, shotgun, Halo Combat Evolved shotgun. Guys, the shotgun in Halo 1's pretty good, like really, really good. Is it great or is it decent though? Because I think most of my experience in recent memory comes from the Master Chief Collection version, which I know has like a bunch of problems. But I know as far as like multiplayer is concerned, that shotgun, it's probably just like the hit detection dropping, right? Yeah, it is. Yeah, because remembering it on LAN, this thing was pretty nasty. And I know we literally just talked about how it's pretty good and it can defeat the Magnum or pistol in close range. As far as campaign is concerned, though, I think that this thing where it really, really shines is on difficulties like easy or normal and heroic. But on legendary, like I think of the library, it's not like my primary weapon on the library. At least I don't think it is. I don't know if maybe I'm like kind of like crazy, but usually whenever I play the library, I actually just end up using the plasma rifle as my primary weapon. Because the shotgun, what I find is that I get caught in a trap where I'm running out of ammo too fast, and it takes so long to reload, and all of the Flood are bearing down on me that what works better is something that doesn't need to be reloaded, or something that can reload relatively quickly. I'd be surprised if there are any headshot weapons that fall below okay. Headshots are such a powerful boon for any weapon to kill things quickly. Yeah. And it's probably the case that as the list goes on, because we've got... That's how many weapons we have to get through. That we'll probably start playing loosey-goosey with the rules and just start putting them everywhere. Like, I've got this wild card down here, which when we get to the Needler, you'll see why. But the AR and shotgun are best against the Flood. The pistol is fundamentally important to Halo as the BR. Okay. Are you also factoring in their sound and design? Yeah, sound and design can count. Like, this isn't a definitive list of any kind. There's going to be a lot of room for subjectivity. Things that are like, yeah, the weapon sucks, but, like, the production value is so good that I want to put it in this tier, you know? Let me actually look at this list of... Okay, good. There is Halo 2 Anniversary. For the Halo 2 Anniversary portion of this list... Let's treat them as the multiplayer variants. Oh, look. Yeah, okay, this list does already putting into account multiplayer. All right, okay, perfect. This is a good list, by the way. Whoever made this thing. Let's put it in great. How does that sound? Is that okay? If we need to bump it up to important, I will allow... Delegation. I think that's the word I'm looking for. Sorry, I just woke up from a nap. So I'm going to put it in great right now, but if it does need to be bumped up, I will allow the chat to veto me, and I will move it up into important. Okay. The sniper rifle. Okay, the combat evolved sniper rifle. This thing is pretty nasty. In multiplayer, I think this is one of the best weapons in the game. Like, it is a... You have to make a rush for it. It's so good. But in campaign, I actually find myself trading it out a lot more often. Usually the only situation where I genuinely like the sniper rifle is when the elites are patrolling, and I can use it to take down an elite major. Or if there's an elite minor there, I can take it out. But for the most part, I usually trade it out for something else. I don't know, maybe... Am I crazy? Or does anyone else feel the same way? Like, multiplayer, I freaking love this thing. It's one of my favorite guns in Halo 1. But in campaign, I don't find myself using it too often when I'm given the chance to use it. Because I'm thinking of, like, some of the... Outside of, like, Truth and Reconciliation, or the second level, where you can find it up on the hill, it usually comes alongside a couple of different weapons, like the rocket launcher. Like, you can find them kind of scattered around the place. And I would opt for the rocket launcher, usually. Sometimes give it to Marines. Can you give it to Marines in Halo 1? I thought weapon trading wasn't a thing introduced until Halo 2. Yeah, it's no good for the Flood. That's part of the reason I don't typically like it. Like, it's usually the sniper rifle I almost treat as, like, a temporary opportunity where I pick it up, use it to take out a specific enemy up ahead that I know is going to be annoying, and then I just chuck it to the ground and get in close and personal, like traditional Halo combat. You go sniper over Rocket, says Rocket Baby. That's ironic, because your name is Rocket Baby. Yeah, you're right. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. And that's actually where the sniper rifle, I start to get a bit more use out of the sniper rifle, where when they introduce the concept of, like, handing it off to your Marines. Because, like, a lot of people make memes about Halo Marines being useless, And I think that those memes say more about the people playing Halo and how they don't really know what they're doing. Because Marines are ruthless. They are ruthless. You can turn them into mobile gun turrets if you give them all sniper rifles. Like, if you're playing on Legendary and you're hoarding overpowered weapons and just giving them all plasma pistols and stuff like that, you're playing it wrong. You've got to give them the overpowered stuff, because then they can just clear rooms on their own. Note, the Halo Combat Evolved Combat Form... Oh, the CE Combat Form lack headshot regions, meaning the pistol's main niche becomes limb severing. Raw damage output is best versus Combat Evolved's Flood. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. I remember there was some rule, some odd rule about Halo 1's pistol. Or not Halo 1's pistol, Halo 1's Flood. Yeah, okay, good to know. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to put this... Just because it's so damn good in Combat Evolved's multiplayer, we can put it in our... It's our first decent? And decent... Here, you know what? Maybe we should rename decent to good. How's that? That way it's less, like, demeaning to it. You know, like, it's okay. Like, it's average. And then it's good. It's a good weapon. It's a great weapon. And then it's an important weapon. Renaming that section to good, I think... Like, it doesn't undersell that this is a great version of the sniper rifle. Or a good version of the sniper rifle, I should say. Because great is literally right there. If that needs to be bumped up to great, I'll let you guys override me. If I see a flurry of greats, then I will bump it up. Okay. The Spanker rocket launcher in Halo 1. This thing is nasty. Really, really nasty. And part of the reason it's so nasty is because of Combat Evolved's really, really odd physics engine and how very strange explosions are in Halo 1. Like, you are constantly at risk of killing yourself when using this thing. Because also, like, enemies, their movements tend to be... There isn't, like, a lot of... When enemies in Combat Evolved begin moving, they don't usually telegraph when they're going to be switching positions or rushing you or something, you know? So, like, an elite can be strafing away from you, and then within a single frame, he is now facing you and moving towards you at max velocity, right when you decided to pull the trigger on the rocket launcher. So the elite's energy shields can take the rocket, but you get killed in the process. But it's like, it's really, really powerful. It's probably one of the most powerful versions of the rocket launcher. CE Sniper is the only one that can be spammed, which sniper-armed Marines take advantage of. And yeah, campaign CE Sniper is best versus HVTs. Yeah, that was my feeling as well. And yeah, it does have an insanely fast fire rate in Combat Evolved. And it's also, it's kind of interesting that it has no aim assist, right, when firing from the hip? Which means that there is, like, a certain level of skill involved with it. Like, if you're getting kills with the sniper rifle in close range, you kind of earned them, you know? Like, there's no ill will. You earn those close kills because of how difficult it is to use. Please, LNG, capitalize the G in good. Here we go. Watch that. Yeah. Yeah, it's... The Combat Evolved rocket launcher is bonkers. This thing is so crazy. I am... Oh, man. Yeah, this thing is great. I'm keeping it up in great just because the chaos that it takes so much skill to not kill yourself with this thing. And when you know how to use it and you know its weird quirks and its very odd list of demands to be used properly, then it can carry basically anybody. All CE weapons are brought up compared to the other games because of backpack reloading. That is true. Backpack reloading does make weapons in Combat Evolved a lot more like versatile. I think because you don't have to commit to a reload animation. You can just throw it into your pocket and it'll reload down there, you know? Flamethrower from Halo Combat Evolved. Okay. The flamethrower from Combat Evolved, the main game wasn't balanced for it in mind. It shows up in the multiplayer, and I think it's safe to say that in the multiplayer, it's just okay. Like, it's fun to use, don't get me wrong, but you have to go out of your way to use it, you know? Like, it's not something that you're gonna, die with. And I don't think it could be a wild card. It could be. But there are some weapons in this game that I would count for the wild card status, I guess, over the flamethrower. I don't know how you guys feel. Bad? See, bad I would reserve for, like... Bad I would reserve for, like, the Halo 3 flamethrower, you know? Because when I pick this thing up in the multiplayer, I guess I do almost use it in, like, a wild card fashion. Because I pick it up, and it's like, they're going to get so mad when I kill them using this thing. I don't know. What do you guys think? Wild card? Here, we're actually also going to add one more. Add a row below. Okay. This row, let me also change the color of it. We'll change the color to like a white or something. Let's call this, what's going on? Okay. We'll call this, let me think on it. What do you guys think? Let me think on it. It's not bad. There are worse weapons. Yeah, like, there are definitely worse weapons throughout Halo's history. Okay, let's put it in let me think on it for right now, okay? And we're going to come back. We're going to come back to this. Sup, Late Night Gaming? Not much. How are you doing, friend? Because this will change depending on what you decide later. Exactly. Opinions may change over the course of this. Halo CE's Spanker is the most powerful at mid-range. Splash damage is too lethal for CQC, while the unguided rockets travel too slowly to be useful at long range. Yeah, like that is like the optimal place for it. It's not really a weapon that you like shoot at your feet to kill whoever's in front of you. Like, it's dangerous. You've got to make sure that you're at a safe distance when you use it. Ugh. All right, Plasma Rifle in Halo Combat Evolved. I'm putting this thing up to important, guys. This thing is bonkers. I freaking love this thing. And I love it. Like, even the Combat Evolved... Is Combat Evolved the anniversary here? No, it doesn't look like it is. This is a weapon that I think translated perfectly into both Combat Evolved and Combat Evolved Anniversary. The sound design for it in Halo 1, it's just the plasma pistol sounds. Like, it's nothing too special. Combat Evolved Anniversary, they gave it a really powerful sound effect. Even if it is using the Reach model still looked good. I like it a lot. I love the colors on this thing. I love the orange inside. The orange aspect of it is something that I really like and sort of miss quite a lot. But the cool thing about the plasma rifle is that every single shot is so hard hitting. It's extremely accurate. It's probably one of the most accurate automatic weapons in the Halo series. But due to the fact that the projectiles travel so slowly, it self-balances itself at a range. Because it's not like you can just cross-map people with this thing in fully auto mode. You know, like, they're going to see the bolts coming at them, and then they're just going to move out of the way. So it has the potential to be really nasty at long range if you know what you're doing. So it takes a lot of skill to use. And then in the multiplayer, it can actually kind of stun lock your view. So if you're firing at somebody who has no shields in Halo Combat Evolved multiplayer, they cannot turn as quickly as normal. So they kind of get stuck facing the direction that they were facing when they began taking damage with it. So in multiplayer on Capture the Flag, I'm thinking of, what's that freaking map in Combat Evolved? Where it's got the big pit and there's like, there are the big platforms that you can jump across, you know, to get to the side. It's like 2 stories. There's that little ravine with the gravity lift that you can hop out of. It's Covenant themed. Crap. I can't remember the name of it. There's a teleporter, and the teleporter, you can take it and you can get up to a really good sniping position. I can't remember the name of it. God, there's too many Halo maps, dude. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Okay, either way, there have been many runs on the multiplayer that I have screwed up for other people using this thing. And it's because they'll be trying to make very important jumps and they'll be looking around and stuff, and then I'll just start firing at them and totally freeze up their screen, and then they can't make little adjustments that they need to, and they'll fall to their death. It also really, really helps with people who are defending flag carriers or people who are carrying the flag themselves. Like, strip their shields, get a couple shots into them to screw up their sense of control, you know. What's the basis for ranking the weapons? Gameplay viability, how good they are in a game overall, or what? There aren't any rules. We're just kind of going off what we feel in the moment, you know? I think right now we're starting off with how viable they are as weapons, which, yeah, so plasma rifle I'm keeping up in important. I think it's the best version of the plasma rifle in the series. Now let's go to the plasma pistol. Okay, the Halo Combat Evolved Plasma Pistol is a very slept-on incarnation. Like, obviously future versions of the Plasma Pistol that have come out are better. They have more features, such as, like, EMPing in Halo 3. But the Plasma Pistol from Halo 1, the fact that it fires as quickly as you can pull the trigger means that it's pretty nasty. Like, the fire rate is faster than the plasma rifle. And it's kind of the similar... it's similar in that, you know, it's good for draining shields. So if you're playing on Legendary difficulty and you've got a really fast trigger finger, this thing actually carries Legendary. It's surprisingly slept on by a lot of the Halo community. And if I ever redo the evolution of the plasma pistol, I'm going to have to bring that up, that this thing is so good. I'm not sure, though, if I would say it's an important version. Because as far as, like, things go, the Halo CE plasma pistol, like, the plasma pistol is more known for future versions of it. Like, I think of the EMP ability. That thing became so iconic to the plasma pistol's identity that this is just, like, a really great version of the plasma pistol, you know? But I don't think it's, like, I don't think it's an iconic weapon to the Halo series, specifically this version of it. It is just a great version of the plasma pistol. How is it slept on? Well, because a lot of the Halo community, they see it as it doesn't have the EMP effect, so it's not as good, you know? It pretty much boils it down to just like that. Or people see, like, the Halo 2 version of the plasma pistol, and they're like, well, that one has better tracking, so it's better than the Halo 1 plasma pistol. The Halo CE plasma pistol is the best version. I'm not sure if I'd agree with that. Like, it is definite. You could argue. I understand why you would argue. I completely understand that. But I personally do not believe it is the best version, just because future versions added EMP, and those surprisingly unlocked a potential that did not exist before for what the plasma pistol could be. That's at least the way that I see it. The CE flamethrower suffers from a trend with most Vidya flamethrowers, being a damage over time projectile shotgun. It's an M90 that can't stack damage as quickly. Yeah, like, in the real world at least, like, flamethrowers, they're not like spitting out like a fireball, like a, you know? A flamethrower is spitting out like hot liquid that is currently on flame over a distance. Like, if you have ever seen footage of people using flamethrowers to like burn, I don't know, whatevers, they are very dangerous weapons that need to be fired from a distance because it's very important that you don't get splashed on, you know? Like, it's not like in movies or video games where it's just like puffs of fireball. And unfortunately, Halo falls into the trap of treating the flamethrower like a puff of fireball. You know, like it is just a shotgun that kills people slower. Yeah, it's not a blowtorch. The cursed Halo version of the Combat Evolved plasma pistol makes it my favorite out of every other plasma pistol. Yeah, it's pretty funny that it takes forever to charge up on cursed Halo. Okay, the Needler. So I'm gonna introduce. Okay, first we're gonna talk about the Needler in Legendary on the campaign against the Flood. I genuinely think the Needler is a really good weapon because when those needles of it pop, they actually do create a tiny little impact. And if you can fire a single needle into a crowd of little floodlings, when that needle bursts, it can take out, you know, a couple of them in that crowd. So imagine putting like maybe 2, 3, 4 needles into different parts of the crowd of floodlings. Like, it's gonna clear it for you. As well as, I think that the Combat Evolved Needler, it's really cool that its tracking, I'm sure its tracking has a range to it, but I can't remember off the top of my head. And the tracking goes extremely far. So the weapon is very slow, like the needles move very slowly through the air. But they will eventually find a target because its tracking capabilities are unusually accurate. Even if you're not really focus aiming on a specific enemy, just firing them up into the air, they'll eventually find a target that they decide to home in on. And because of that, this thing is really good. But another important factor also is the time period the Combat Evolved released in. So people weren't as good at video games back then as they are today. You know, games ran at 30 frames per second, 4:3 aspect ratio on CRT TVs, big clunky controller, first-person shooters. Like, people weren't as good at first-person shooters as they are now. This little thing is such a good training wheels weapon for people who aren't good at video games, and Halo might be their first game. And case in point, I was babysitting my neighbor's kid years and years and years ago, and the kid was terrible, didn't know how to play Halo, but this kid picked up the Needler, and that was fine. Didn't need to aim directly at the Covenant. The Needler would just hit something, you know? And so that's when I kind of like, I feel like the Needler, it serves a couple of functions. Like, definitely on Legendary, it's pretty decent in Combat Evolved for flood stuff or like taking stuff out at an extreme range if you have patience. But it's also great for like your little brother or your little sister, if you catch me. Just tell them to pick up the Needler, and then they don't have to focus so much on aiming. They can just hold down the trigger, and the needles will do the job. As far as multiplayer is concerned, it's not competitively viable, but I also don't think every weapon in Halo has to be. I think some weapons are perfectly okay being bad in some game modes and good in other game modes. I don't think a weapon needs to be viable in every single game mode. Real-world flamethrowers are burning pressure washers. Yeah, they're definitely not meant to be used for close range. It's flaming liquid, for Christ's sake, you know? You want to throw that as far away from you as you can. CRT is still made today. They're pretty good for gaming, apparently. Is it still made today? I thought that CRTs are not made today specifically because they are so expensive to produce, the technology, as well as there are ecological costs to the technology that is packed inside of them. CE's needler is unique. Damage is dealt when the needles pop, while future games changed it to deal damage on impact, probably for better damage feedback. I'd imagine that was the case. So this thing, I'm going to put it in, it's okay. And I think that's fair. Like, that's fair, right? Not everything needs to be like you can pick it up in multiplayer and you can go on a killing spree with it. Sometimes it's okay if a weapon just exists so a little kid with really bad aim playing split screen with you can use it. Shout out to the needle animation. Yep, and then there's that needle animation, which is fantastic. Okay, the fuel rod gun for Halo CE. The fuel rod gun in Halo 1 is great. Like, it's really great. I don't think it's particularly balanced. Or maybe not balanced. Like, it is what it is, you know? It's a friggin' fuel rod gun. Like, it's fine. It's good. It's good. It does the job. It doesn't do anything, like, particularly special, but it's also, like, it does exactly what it said it would do on the tin, you know? Like, it's fine. It was probably good, though, that they didn't let players pick it up in the campaign. Not that that would even matter too much, just because it rarely shows up in the campaign to begin with, you know? In my opinion, the fuel rod gun in CE is the most unique version in the whole series. What I will say is that I really like the design from Combat Evolved, and I think the fact that you can't pick it up in the campaign, and that it was only available in the PC version of Halo 1, it makes it like a... It's like the forbidden fruit, you know? It's something that's like hell... Like, you can only look at it, but don't touch it. You're not allowed to use it. Like, the Halo 1 fuel rod gun, when I pick it up in the multiplayer, I'm like, oh yeah, this thing's, like, fine. But when I'm in the campaign, and the only times you ever see it are when Spec Ops grunts are using it, and it'll explode immediately when they die, there is something that is oddly, like, alluring about it. Like, it's very mysterious. And I think that makes it a little bit cool. So, okay, we're moving on to Halo 2. The Halo 2 battle rifle, here's the tough one, okay? I don't know which one to put it in, because it is important in that it is an iconic competitive weapon. But I don't think that it is the version of the battle rifle that should be what all battle rifles strive for, because I do think it's overtuned. Like, I am all for a competitive keystone weapon, but the problem with the battle rifle is, so the 3-shot burst nature of it makes it inherently easier to use as a competitive weapon than the pistol, where every single shot has to be deliberate. Like with this, only one of those shots in the burst has to hit, you know? Like, some of the process of hitting the target is automated by it, as well as how aggressive the bullet magnetism can be for it. The speed of the projectiles and stuff. And then you factor in some of the button combos, which the button combos I think are really cool in isolation. I think when you're watching competitive Halo 2 tournaments, that's where the battle rifle is really cool, because you're seeing everybody use the same weapon. It's almost like Smash Brothers or something, you know? You're just seeing players doing ridiculous things, like speeding up the bursts, canceling out reloads and stuff like that, and it's really cool seeing it in action. But I do think that this thing it didn't have enough guardrails against it, you know? Like, Halo 2, I think, as fun as it is, the weapon sandbox I don't think is quite as tight and refined as the Combat Evolved one. And so in Halo 2, at least with the battle rifle, I do think that there's an unfortunate tendency for this thing to overshadow a lot of other weapons, but that usually just occurs when the great player picks this thing up, you know? So it's like very, it depends on the player if this thing is really going to just kind of like overpower the match, I guess. Important for sure. Question. No question, in my opinion. In my opinion, the plasma pistol is superior to the plasma rifle. Plasma rifle might have better shot speed, but plasma pistol has a higher rate of fire, overcharged shot, and superior availability, thanks to grunts and jackals. I agree with you there. The reason, though, that I put it below the plasma rifle is sometimes I need to free up processing power in my brain during stressful moments. So I'm like, I can't be worrying about pressing the trigger deliberately for every single shot. Sometimes I need the process to be a little bit automated, which is why I choose this as an automatic weapon. But I totally see where you're coming from, and I agree. And the longer I think about it, the more I'm thinking we should, like, I don't know. Let me put it and think about it, okay? Is way too strong compared to the rest of the sandbox. The Halo 2 battle rifle is way too strong compared to the rest of the sandbox. Well, I guess the question would be, how would you change it so that it rewards skill but isn't quite as easy to use? Because I think that's the primary issue with the Halo 2 battle rifle. I do think it is an extremely easy to use weapon. Like, the Magnum, I think, takes a little bit more skill to use than the Halo 2 battle rifle. It's really the button combos where skill begins to come out in the battle rifle. But as a default, if you're not using button combos, the Halo 2 battle rifle is very, very, very easy to use. A little bit dangerously easy to use. And the reason I've got it up in important right now is due to its, like, iconic status. Two-shot bursts? I don't think it's about, like, well, should it be like a single shot? Should it be a burst shot? Like, I think that it involves, like, a fundamental rework of how Halo's ballistics work. Which we'll eventually get to the Halo 3 battle rifle, where we can really get into the nitty-gritty. But I do think a projectile system would have served the Halo 2 battle rifle really well, because similar to the plasma rifle, where this thing is hyper accurate, but because the projectiles travel so slowly, it self-balances at a range. I think that a projectile system would have worked really well for the battle rifle. That way, you have to lead your shots past a certain distance, or you just won't hit the target. Which Combat Evolved does that really well. You know, this Magnum, it's not always going to go right for your crosshair. You know, the bullets will start to fall off after a certain range, and you have to actually aim slightly ahead of your target. But next weapon is the first bad. Alright, guys. The Halo 2 Magnum. You want to know something? I think it's okay. I think it's okay. I don't think it's bad, alright? I think it is okay. And the reason, hear me out. Okay, so I'm working on the evolution of Halo's pistol, right? And something I've come to realize about the Halo 2 Magnum is you can't just look at the Halo 2 Magnum in this closed loop, where it's like there's nothing else going on. It's just the Magnum. Try using the Magnum to get a kill. Because that's not really how Halo Sandbox works, you know? There's a lot of things going on at the same time. And Halo 2 also introduced dual wielding. And the thing about that Halo 2 Magnum is if you have a plasma pistol in your second hand, suddenly that Magnum becomes pretty nasty. Or even the plasma rifle, you know, or anything to strip shields really quickly. Like, this Magnum, when I recorded footage for the evolution video, I was pretty nasty in Halo 2 multiplayer when I was using this thing to dual wield. Oh my god, Mr. Nowhere! I missed last stream, but more on topic, the railgun from Halo 4 was cool in my opinion. Mr. Nowhere, thank you so much. Holy crap! Dude, that's huge! Wow! Oh my god, babe. Mr. Nowhere just donated $100. Dude, that's so kind of you. Holy shit. I really appreciate it. This month especially, because YouTube payout is so low this month. Dude, Mr. Nowhere, cheers. I really, really appreciate that, man. You're awesome, dude. Thank you. Yeah, and the railgun, we'll get to the railgun, okay? Don't worry. I used to have some pretty extreme opinions on the railgun that I have since turned around on. But we are currently talking about the Magnum. I think Mr. Nowhere should be put into important if he was on this list. Here, let me actually... I wonder what happens if I type into Google Mr. Nowhere. If anything comes up. There's the thing from... There's that thing. There's that thing. There, that's pretty good. Here, I'm going to save this. Okay. And now we're going to come over to the tier list. And then what we are going to do, choose files. Let's go to pictures. Camera roll. Where is it? Here he is. Okay. There. Well, I've added Mr. Nowhere. Let's bring him all the way up. I'm putting Mr. Nowhere in important. I love you, dude. Thank you so much. But let's continue talking about the Halo 2 Magnum. So, bottom line is, the Halo 2 Magnum, I think it is a weapon that is definitely not great. It's not even good, but it is okay. When you dual wield it, there is a purpose for the Magnum that shines through. It's relatively accurate at close to mid-range. It can get headshots. Its fast fire rate means that it's really good at taking on grunts and jackals. Maybe jackals a little bit less so, but that's where you factor in the dual wielding system. Like, and in multiplayer, here's an interesting factoid about the Magnum. In multiplayer, the Magnum for Halo 2 actually was a problem when the game first came out, because it took, I think, 7 shots to kill a Spartan. 7 or 8 shots. Maybe 9? I can't remember. Either way, Bungie eventually had to actually step in, because what players discovered is if they held 2 Magnums, it would kill enemy players so fast that they couldn't react, just because of how fast the fire rate was for it. So Bungie had to step in and nerf the Magnum pretty dramatically. And even then, I still think on the Master Chief Collection, if you pick up the Halo 2 Magnum, even dual wielding it, it can be pretty obnoxious to other players, just because it dishes out damage so fast. But it's definitely not a good weapon. Like, there are better weapons to pick up in Halo 2. It's definitely not great, and I would not even remotely call it important. Halo 2 pistol just needed more ammo pickups. That's another thing. Its ammo economy was very anemic. It didn't have a lot of ammo laying around. The saw on Halo 5 is top tier. Also, I've been cheating on Halo with Warhammer 40k, and I hope y'all are having a good day. Yeah, Warhammer 40k Space Marine. Space Marine looks pretty good. I would be one of those shotguns from the cartoons that just shoots a big flag that says bang on it. Like those prop guns, like something the Joker uses. Where it's like a little pistol and like a puff of smoke comes out and it's got the flag. I love those things, those gag weapons. It was nerfed from a 9-shot kill to a 13-shot kill, if I remember correctly. Gotcha. I'm having trouble. So the Red versus Blue has this segment on Halo's weapons. And I think what confused me was that they say that it's a 7-shot kill in red versus blue for some reason. And that you are right. I think it is a 9-shot killer. It was originally. But, okay, the Halo 2 SMG. Guys, the Halo 2 SMG, I'm going to put this thing in good. I think it's good. Like, the reason that I think that the Halo 2 SMG is good is because when you play it on the campaign, on easy through to heroic, this thing is actually a pretty decent weapon. What I think that it's really good at is it serves kind of the function that the Combat Evolved Assault Rifle served. It's not nearly as good, though. That's why I don't have it in the same status. I think that the presentation of the Halo 2 SMG is pretty fantastic. I don't know about you guys, but I really like that stock sound effect that Bungie chose for it. Like that thwippa-thwappa, almost like typewriter sound while you're firing it. Like, I'm pretty sure that that thing is a stock sound effect, because I've heard that firing sound before. I just can't remember where. Either way, it's really satisfying to hear, even if it's not like the most realistic sound for a firearm. It's just, it scratches that part of my brain that likes clicky-clacky sounds. The reload for it, I think, is seared into my brain for all time. Like, it's just like dumping the magazine out and then just slap putting that new magazine in it, like, I can see the important hero frames in it, almost like a comic book panel, because of how just fluid, perfect, and snappy the reload is for it. It flows really well. It feels good to use, and I really, really like the sound design for it. And it's very good to use dual-wielded. Like, it's fantastic when you're dual-wielding it. It's one of the most important weapons, I think, in Halo 2. And most importantly, it's not too overpowered, you know? It stays within its lane as, like, a close-range weapon. I think where it falls a little bit short is something that Bungie touched on, which is, as a social starter weapon, the SMG, it's impossible to resist the urge to dual-wield it. So what usually would happen in Halo 2 multiplayer is most players would not be using their grenades or their melee attack. They'd only be shooting with it. And that's where the weapon falls a little bit short, because the SMG, like, Jamie Griesmer, who was like a combat designer for the early Halos, he found that it was very, very, very important that some weapons encouraged players to engage with, like, melee attacks and grenades and getting close to enemies. Because Halo, it is definitely a first-person shooter, but he wanted players to be able to get up really close to the Covenant, to see their awesome animation at work, hear the things that they're saying, and that's what the SMG did. You know, it wasn't very good at a range, and it, you know, it needed a little bit of assistance in doing the killing. So usually what would happen is you'd be mowing down a bunch of, you know, Covenant, like laying down the damage, and then you'd get up close and you'd finish them off with melee attacks, or you'd chuck a grenade into the crowd after you softened them up with a hail of bullets. And that was what the SMG did really well. It was just, you know, it encouraged that kind of healthy combat that Jamie Griesmer really wanted. It made sure that you were always close to the enemies, always kind of in the thick of it, seeing their personalities come out. And in the multiplayer, you know, the problem with that is when you're just firing your weapons, you're not really encouraged to do other things like use your grenade, use your melee attack. So it kind of encouraged people to play the multiplayer the wrong way, at least in social starts, which is why in Halo 3, they actually brought back the assault rifle, was because they needed a close-range automatic weapon that you couldn't dual-wield. That way, you were using your melee attacks and your grenades and getting close to enemies and stuff. I'm surprised at how much kick the SMG has. A super soldier should handle it no problem. It definitely has a lot of kick, but I also think, you know, it's just one of those, it's game design, basically. Like, if the weapon had no kick, it would definitely be problematic, that it fired so quickly and your aim would be dead on. there did need to be a little bit of friction with the player. Like, you can have fun, but not too much fun that you accidentally upset the balance of the game, you know? Vengeful of Autumn talks about Halo 2's balancing changes in his multiplayer tier list video. He does? Okay, that's cool. Do you think dual wielding has a future in Halo? I'd love dual wielding to come back into Halo. I'm not sure how I would do it, though. All right, the Halo 2 shotgun. Guys, this is going to be controversial. I think it's just okay. I think it's just okay. I don't think the Halo 2 shotgun is the best version of the weapon. I think it might be the worst version of the weapon in the series. Like, it's not bad enough that I would put it in the bad category, because if you know how to use it, like, you're still going to get some mileage out of it, you know? Here's what's weird about the Halo 2 shotgun. So, the shotgun in Halo 2, if I remember correctly, so if you think about, like, the circle, which is the crosshair, it will fire only in, like, a circle around the crosshair, right? So it means that you sort of have to fire off-center. Like, you have to fire it to the side of the enemy so that a majority of the pellets actually end up hitting your target. Because if you've got, like, your circle crosshair and your enemy is in the center of the circle crosshair, all the pellets will miss. Right? Would you even pick up a Halo 2 shotgun? I personally wouldn't. Not in a campaign run. Just because I think there are better weapons to use. Like, it is okay, though. Because if you, like I said, if you actually know the spread pattern of the Halo 2 shotgun, in multiplayer what you can do is you get up really close to an enemy, shove it in their face, fire, and then instantly melee, and you've pretty much got the insta-kill locked down, you know? So, it's usable. It's not bad by any means. It's not this, like, unusable thing that is just trash. It can be used. But that's why I'm going to put it at just okay. Maybe there should be a... You know what? Hang on. We need a new, We need a new, Whoops. It's okay. Whoops. Okay. Add a row below. Should we call this new row, what should we call this new row? This new row is going to be dedicated to weapons that they can be used, but they're very close to not being good. Like, you know, like, you are lucky that I'm not putting you in the trash can. What should we call this row? Me, says Matt Wiseman. Situational. Not even situational, because, like, situational implies that it's good in specific situations. Usable. No, not even usable. Like, you are lucky that you technically can be used in certain situations to get kills only if you're really good. Because if it wasn't for that, you'd be in trash. Maybe close to bad? Mediocre. That's decent. Mediocre. What do you guys think? Maybe... Did I misspell clarinet? I think I did. No, I didn't. Okay, clarinet is just a weird-looking word in English. Okay, mediocre clarinet player. Okay. The Halo 2 shotgun is a mediocre clarinet player. What do you guys think? Iffy, mid, desperate. Those are pretty good. Teetering is really good. Better options are good. You know what? There are better options. What do you think? That's good. I like that. I like that, because now there are better options. We can move that there. There, perfect. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Nowhere. There are better options. Okay. In fact, Flamethrower from Halo CE. We could throw that in there as well. What do you think? Okay, the sniper rifle. The Halo 2 sniper rifle is insane. This thing is nuts. It's one of the easiest versions of the sniper rifle to use in the series. Whenever I pick this thing up, in multiplayer or even campaign, it puts in the work. It also helps that this thing uses a stock sound effect for its reload that is extremely satisfying. It is good on the ears, the sound effect Bungie chose for the reload. But yeah, as far as multiplayer is concerned, this thing is nasty. Nasty. I don't know if I'd put it up in important yet, though. And I'll get to that much later. But immediately I have to put it up in great, because it's extremely easy to use. The low rate of fire keeps it in check. It is not, it's not going to get the kills for you, but it's super, super easy to use. Really satisfying. Mediocre clarinet player describes my middle school experience, except it was a keyboard, not a clarinet. I assume you guys all played the recorder, right, in school? How did you feel when you discovered the only reason we all had to learn how to play the recorder was for health reasons? To help us develop our lungs? LNG, nice to catch a stream. I hope you're doing well. Reached Mars in S tier, by the way. We will get there. Don't worry. Yeah, and I'm doing good. How are you doing, friend? Okay. We've got now the rocket launcher. All right, guys. The Halo 2 rocket launcher has to go up into important, right? This is easily the best version of the rocket launcher to ever exist in the series. It's got it all, dude. The tracking is super, super, super functional, easy to use, really nice, feels good. You just hold down that trigger until it locks on, then release the trigger. And on top of that, it's got a really good design, really good color work. It also kind of smoothed out, I think, the animations from the Halo 1 rocket launcher, sped them up a little bit, made them look a little bit more fluid, a little bit more dance-like, and kind of became the standard way that all future rocket launchers would stylize their reload animations around. I really like the Halo 2 rocket launcher. It's one of my favorite versions in the series. Frickin' love that thing. But now we are at the carbine. Okay, guys. The carbine, I am putting the carbine in great. What do you think? There is potential for it to be bumped down to good. But off the bat, I think that the carbine is really great in Halo 2 specifically. The reason I think it's really good is I really like the color work on it. I really, really like the design as well. Just as this odd bit of like alien engineering. I like the two circles. Specifically something that I like about it. I like the sound effect when you pop out the magazine or battery or whatever the hell it is, the cartridge. It's just like a satisfying weapon. Like Bungie had this problem in Halo 2 where the Arbiter missions were not going to be fun if you didn't have a battle rifle, like a keystone weapon, something precision-based that you can get headshots with. Like, it would suck if it was all plasma rifles and plasma pistols. And so they came up with the idea for this Covenant rifle. And I think that they did really, really well. It feels suitably alien, and it is built off of a bit of concept art from Halo 1. I don't know if it was ever actually going to become a gun in Halo 1, but there is a bit of concept art for the grunts in Halo 1, where the grunt is holding kind of like a sci-fi pistol-looking thing, And it basically... Here, you know what? Let me see if I can find it. Let's see if we can find it. There. Right there. It was based off of this bit of concept art. You can see that looks like the stock of a carbine. And if I remember right, Jamie Griesmer said that there was no actual concept art done for the carbine. It was pretty much winged. And I think they did a really good job. It's basically an elite M1 Garand. That's what I like about it. I like that you pop it open and the cartridge flings out, almost like an M1 Garand thing. Okay, the plasma rifle from Halo 2. I'm going to put this thing in good. Like, it's good, okay? It's not, like, okay. Kind of like the Halo Combat Evolved Needler. Like, this thing is definitely, like, good. You know, you can put in the work. But it's not great. And it's definitely not important. It's a step down. It's just, like, you know, it's good. It's good. It's not important or special or anything. It's just a good weapon. It is disappointing, though, that it kind of is just good and that there's really nothing else that's special about it. The Halo 2 plasma rifle is definitely underrated. Oh, Christian, you think it's underrated? Okay, what do you think is underrated about it? Here, let me get another energy drink. It's basically, oh, let me see, Alien BR, says Mr. Nowhere, precisely, for the carbine at least. It's rated. Yeah, I think it's, I don't know. Like, I think it's good. I don't think there needs to be much else said, you know? Dual wield it. It's decent. Plasma pistol from Halo 2. I'm gonna put this thing up in great. And in fact, where is he? Andrew, we're going to be putting the Combat Evolved plasma pistol up into important. Okay? Yeah. The Halo 2 plasma pistol is great. It is so good. The tracking on it is nasty. Like, in multiplayer, this thing is unstoppable if you've got, like, a pistol or a magnum. You know, you're dual wielding it with one. Also, it's just unstoppable if you're not dual wielding it. You know, if you've got, like, a BR or a carbine in your secondary. It's just, like, a very, very powerful weapon. Yeah, see, my Shih Tzu agrees as well. So if there are no arguments, we're going to be keeping it in great. The Needler for Halo 2, we're going to be putting this thing in there are better options. In fact, actually, we're going to be putting it... No, because it's usable. Like, it is not a thing that just... You just can't use it. You know, it's not that bad, okay? The Halo community exaggerates. They exaggerate quite a lot. If you were playing the Halo 2 campaign on Legendary difficulty, this is a weapon you can pick up and it can carry you through encounters. It is hard to use because it's so not great, but it's decent. Not even decent. There are better options. In fact, we could even throw it into wild card. Like, I refuse to put this thing in bad just because it can be used. It's the multiplayer where things start to get rough. But then again, there's no, you know, not every weapon needs to be good in the multiplayer. Some weapons can just be designed for the campaign. And I do think the Needler in the campaign is not great. It's not okay, it's not good, it's not great. There are better options. But there are better options doesn't mean it's unusable. Needler was Kid Me's favorite weapon, honestly. Like, especially when you dual wielded it. Think of the little brother / little sister factor, or the cousin factor, or whatever, you know? It's a weapon that pretty much aims itself. Perfect for a little kid who's not good at shooters. But if I am drunk on power right now, and we need to veto my decision, I give you guys authorization to veto. The council can decide its fate. So, keep it where it is, or move it down to bad. But for now, let's move on to the beam rifle. The beam rifle in Halo 2, it is... Well, it's not really any different from, like, you know, from that. From the Halo 2 sniper rifle. But I think that it's lacking some kind of kinetic feedback, some kind of feeling, man. It's very hard to describe. I love the design for this thing, because it's super, super alien and weird looking. Like, if you were to look at this thing, it's a really unusual shape for something that's a sniper rifle. Like, it's something you almost hang more than you hold. And I think that fits the idea of it being something built on another planet for hands that are not human. Versus the sniper rifle, which very much feels like it was designed for human military use, you know? Wild card? Wild card. You say that some weapons do not need to be good in every scenario. What do you think about weapons that are only intended for the enemies to wield and not really intended for player use? Well, there's no weapon that's really like that, I guess, in Halo. Some weapons are definitely more built for the enemies to use against the player, but at a fundamental level, you can still use their weapons, you know? But I see what you mean. There are some weapons where you know, the truth about it is it's more for the enemies than it is for you, and that's the Needler is definitely one of those weapons where it's really just, you know, something to dodge in the campaign. I'm gonna put the beam rifle up into... I'm gonna put it in good, okay? Because I really, really like the design. But something about it, it's like it needs a little something extra. And I couldn't put my finger on what it was. In fact... Is that the Halo 2? Is that the Halo... That better not be like the Halo 2 Anniversary model. Because that thing's actually very different. No, there's the Halo 2 Anniversary model. Okay. Okay, fuel rod gun. It's good. It does exactly what it says it'll do on the tin. This thing is a good gun. Okay? In fact, actually, we might put it up in great. You know what? No, we're gonna put it up in... We're gonna put it up in good. Like, this thing is good. It's really, really good. No. Gosh, I can't decide. You know what? Okay, I'm not touching it, okay? I think it's good. It's a good gun, the Halo 2 fuel rod gun. I can't articulate why it needs to stay in good for my brain, but... It's just like a fun weapon to spam. I really like the glowing green canister that you put into the back. I love the color of it. What does wildcard entail? Something that is like... Something that is not good, like for Halo. Like, it can be either it's not a good weapon, or it is inherently, like, unhealthy for the sandbox. Like, this thing is not balanced. It's very overpowered, but it's just crazy. Like, think of, like, the Scarab gun. Like, that thing should never be put into multiplayer. It's a wild card, baby. It should never be put into multiplayer. But it shouldn't be taken out of the game. You know? Nice suppression weapon. Okay, the Brute Shot. Okay, the Halo 2 Brute Shot feels very good to use. It feels good to use. But no, it feels good to use, and it is good. I'm not going to say it's great, though, but it is a very good weapon. And this is another weird, like, thing in my brain. I like the way that your camera shakes while you're holding it. You know what I'm talking about, some of you who really, really notice those little details. When you pick up the Brute Shot, and specifically Halo 2, your camera starts doing this very specific bob, and that feels good. It makes the Brute Shot feel very heavy and kind of unwieldy. And I think that it's a very satisfying weapon to use in Halo 2 as a result. It was the first, maybe the only brute weapon in Halo 2 that I think feels truly like a brute weapon. Like, the brute plasma rifle, I am not like crazy about. What the hell is this? Where is the brute plasma rifle? It's not on this list. And why is the brute plasma rifle in Halo 3? Here, okay. We are going to use this as a stand-in for the Halo 2 brute plasma rifle, okay? Like, the Brute Shot is the only weapon, I think, in Halo 2 that feels like it got the proper development time it needed to be a weapon for the Brute faction. Remember that the Halo 2 Brute Shot is also basically an infinite ammo energy sword. Yeah, it does do extra melee damage, doesn't it? Yeah, it feels very, very good. The sword. Fellers. The Halo 2 version of the sword. Do we put it in iconic? Or do we put it in great? The reason I want to put it in iconic is because the activation animation for it is so sick looking. I also really, really think that it was a powerful moment in the campaign when you are given control of an elite for the first time. And holding this thing is the first thing you see when gameplay starts, with those alien hands. Like, it was an iconic moment. And then, just beyond that, sword flying is so cool for speedrunning purposes. Also just for, like, quirky little Halo-wisms, you know? Things that are weird bugs that are unique to the Halo series that we all know and love. Its melee animations are still probably my favorite in the series. Like, I really don't think there was another Halo game that had just every single animation from this thing felt great. The way that it's held, the activation, the swings, perfect. I don't have a single thing to complain about. And the reason that I think about keeping it in great is just because the one thing it lacks is not its fault. It was just like a symptom of, you know, new features are added as time goes on. And it's parrying. Because if it wasn't for the parrying mechanic, you wouldn't have, like, sword dueling servers, you know? And the parrying mechanic came in later Halo games. So that's why I'm thinking of keeping it in great, just because future games, I think the parrying mechanic is very important for custom game purposes. I'll keep it in important for right now, though. And, you know, infinite ammo is also something that is great. Yeah, the Halo 2 sword just slaps, dude. It's also my wife's favorite version of the energy sword. She loves the colors. Okay. Dual magnums? Why is this? This is a weird thing to include. Because you're not just going to be dual wielding magnums. You know, you could be dual wielding other weapons. I don't know. Should we count? Look at this. Dual wield plasma pistols. Bad, right? Okay, you know, there is some validity here. Okay. What do you guys think about this? What do you guys think of how I have organized these dual-wield plasma pistols as our first bad? I don't know. I disagree fundamentally with the idea of having two weapons at once be on this list, because I think the dual-wield system is a lot more... there are more creative combinations of weapons you could have thrown in here. But... Brute plasma rifle. Okay, the brute plasma rifle. Guys, what should we do with this? My instinct is to put it in. It's okay. Like, I think that the controlled fire rate of the plasma rifle makes it a weapon that is easier to kind of do some heavy damage with, you know, because you pump a couple shots in, do a melee attack, maybe dual wield it with the plasma pistol. The super fast fire rate of this thing means that you burn through ammo quicker, and I find that it's a lot less accurate. But that's just my instinct. I don't know. What do you guys think? Dual-wield magnums is bad. It's surprisingly not bad, the dual-wield magnums. In the evolution of Halo's Magnum video that I'm working on, I actually did some pretty nasty work when dual-wielding these things. There are better options, though. Like, in order for me to do really well with this thing, I had to basically get the jump on players and fire so quickly that they didn't know how to kind of turn things around. So it's definitely usable, but... it's just that the red plasma rifle appears much less in the series. Yeah. It has slightly better damage that I found. Does it have slightly better damage? Like, is that a definitive thing? If anyone can confirm. Either way, so... We'll revisit it. Dual wielding though. Dual wielding needlers. I think it's wasn't it Vengeful of Autumn who called this thing the wild card? There's this iconic clip from Halo 2 Esports. If I recall, it was a celebration thing where the team had won the match, and as a celebration, to kind of like really rub it into the enemy team that they had won, one of the players picked up dual needlers and killed another competitive player, and the esports announcers were like freaking out because of how ridiculous these things are. I mean, they're definitely like a bad, you know, or even like there are better options because I'm, you know, factoring in some of the campaign. But I don't know. What do you think? Wild card? Dual pistols are fun to fire, admittedly. They are fun to fire. What do you think? Wild card territory for this thing? Our first wild card? Because I do think it's very, very fun. Oh, I am stretching right now. Okay, wild card. We got some wild card agreeers. Some certified wild card agreeers. Whew. We're almost done with Halo 2. Man, we got a lot of weapons to go through. Okay. Halo 2 Sentinel Beam. The Sentinel Beam, I think it's okay. I think that's fair, right? Like, it's a weapon that you pick up. You don't need to reload it. You can use it for a limited amount of time until it's out of battery, and then you just chuck it on the ground. It's okay. I'm waiting for somebody to propose another another tier for it, though. Because my instinct is that it's okay. We've got our first bad for it. What weapon we on? We're on the Halo 2 beam rifle. I like the design. I do really love the design. And I also really, really like the logic of you kill a sentinel and then you like use a piece of it as a weapon, and it looks very uncomfortable to hold because it's not a rifle of any kind. Like it's just a piece of machinery that you're using as a weapon, you know? That's what I like about it. Okay, here we go. Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer. The assault rifle from Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer. I'll be honest, guys. I think the sound design for the Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer assault rifle, I don't think it sounds very good. I think it sounds almost unfinished. Like the audio mixing for it wasn't quite done. I think that the reload animation for it, it's very distracting that it is technically finished reloading before the animation is complete. So you can actually hold down the trigger and interrupt the animation and begin immediately firing it. And then there's this odd beep sound when you charge the handle. Like you know, magazine out, magazine in, and as you are pulling the bolt, there's this loud like beep sound that is really odd, and no assault rifle has ever made that sound, and it's very distracting. I don't think it's great. Like, it's not... I'll put it in good, because it's not okay. You know, you can definitely put in work with... No, because I would give good to the SMG. It's okay. It's okay. The sloppy lack of polish that it has. And then it also doesn't help that it's one of the weapons that... Because Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer is running in the Halo 4 game engine, the Halo 4 game engine, its audio codec gets really, really overwhelmed quickly by things that just like make no sense. So it'll frequently drop certain sound effects. If you guys remember Halo 4, it's quite common in Halo 4 that the energy sword just will suddenly stop making sounds. And it's because the engine gets overloaded, so it just deletes that sound effect. Like now, for the rest of the match, no more energy sword sounds. And in the multiplayer, the assault rifle for Halo 2 Anniversary, it is another weapon that is affected, where just for whatever reason, the engine will just decide too much is going on, so now your assault rifle will not have reload sounds anymore. And it's an annoying thing to happen in the game. And it's a really big shame that on the MCC they never fixed that problem. The sound design is bad, but the gun itself is fun. Would you guys say then that it's okay as a decent, or do you think it should be put into good? Because I'm thinking about it, and I can't think of a single area where I would prefer it over the SMG. Like, I generally prefer to have the Halo 2 Anniversary SMG in my hand, which is why I put the assault rifle into okay. And okay doesn't mean that it's unusable, you know? In fact, actually, Needler, now that I think about it, we should put the Combat Evolved Needler down here, because there are better options. What do you guys think? Like, is that fair? I'm leaning on okay, too. Okay. Me not being biased for assault rifles, LOL. Yeah, like, it does the job. It's okay. Like, you're not going to lose a gunfight if you're using it. You know, pump a couple shots in, follow up with a melee attack, take them down, maybe start the fight with a good grenade, and then use this thing to mop up the damaged enemy player. Like, it's okay. It'll get you through the fight. Okay. Halo 2 Anniversary Battle Rifle. This thing's nasty. But I'm not going to put it up into important. And the reason why is because I have some presentational issues with it. For the same reason that the assault rifle will get its reload animation dropped, this thing will also have random, or not animation, sound dropped. This thing will also have certain audio effects just disabled because the engine in Halo 2 Anniversary just decided it can't handle everything. And it is I hate it so much when this thing just will not have any weapon swap sounds, or it won't have a reload sound, or it won't have a melee sound. Like, it sounds like somebody muted part of my TV when I'm using this thing. It is a bug that kind of ruins this gun for me because of how much it annoys me when it happens. How do you guys feel? Like, immediately my gut anger instinct is to kick this thing down to good, because it's great. It is so good in Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer. But that presentational bug makes me so damn annoyed, and it drives me up the wall that 343 never fixed it. My wacky BR balance idea: reduce the rate of fire to match the commando. Fire full auto bursts unscoped. Semi-auto bursts. That's a decent idea. Like, there's some games where the burst weapons are fully auto. I'm thinking of, like, Left 4 Dead's Scar. Or I forgot what they call it. Don't they call it, like, the combat rifle or something in that game? Tactical rifle, something like that. And it's a burst weapon, but it's fully automatic. So reduce rate of fire to match the commando. You fire full auto bursts when you're unscoped, like from the hip. Semi-auto bursts scoped. Fire rate reduced... fairly reduced damage versus shields. That's a decent idea for balancing it, to be honest. The bug makes it a good rating. Because, here's the thing, it is great. It is great in combat. It's a good version of the battle rifle. But, I don't know. It's just that bug is so damn annoying. It really is one of the most, it's like aspects of the sound design just are not finished. You know, they're bugged, they're glitched. Key aspects of the presentation are not working as intended. Sometimes the gun just makes no sound. And in a first-person shooter, that is insanely bizarre. That issues like that are like, okay, we're going to list that as a known shippable. We're going to launch the game and never address it. Like, presentation should be super important. Like, I can't imagine, you know, the stress that it must have been to get... It was 11 months, I think. Either 11 or 7 months. I can't remember off the top of my head. To get Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer made by Certain Affinity. And they were using the Halo 4 game engine, which the Halo 4 game engine in the multiplayer had that audio issue where it would drop certain sound effects if it felt that the engine was being overloaded. It's just very weird, I guess, that that bug wasn't fixed. Like, I can understand launching the MCC with that specific issue, just because the MCC as a whole was a mess, so clearly there were a lot of problems behind the scenes getting the MCC thrown together, but not fixing it when they were given the opportunity to actually polish up those ports. That's what confuses me. But here, the Halo 2 Anniversary Magnum. So the Halo 2 Anniversary Magnum, I'll be honest with you guys. I'm keeping it in There Are Better Options. But I like it better than the base Halo Magnum. In the multiplayer specifically, the campaign version, I actually prefer the look and sound of this one. But for multiplayer, in Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer, I really like that it's using Halo Reach's animations, which, you know, Halo 4 used, and because it's built in the Halo 4 engine, this thing is basically a reskinned Halo 4 Magnum, which uses the Reach animations, which yada yada. Either way, I like that this thing does the old pistol flip when you use it in the multiplayer. And I think the crack, crack, crack of when you fire it is really satisfying. But there are better options. It's not something you should go out of your way to find. The Halo 2 Anniversary Magnum makes my ears tickle. I kind of like it. Yeah, like it's a good sound effect for it. You know, it feels nice to use. Just, it is similar to the original Halo 2 Magnum, and because of those restrictions, it does stay in there are better options, but I do like the game feel of it better than the original Bungie Halo 2 Magnum. It feels better to use in Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer, even if it is statistically kind of the same weapon. So now we go on to the SMG. The SMG, I'm going to keep this thing up and good. It feels great. This is the multiplayer version. So the campaign version of Halo 2 Anniversary, the SMG, I do not like it, Sam I Am. I don't like the SMG in Halo 2 Anniversary campaign graphics. I don't like the sound effect for it. They recorded a Thompson firing, and I don't think that is the audio identity of the SMG. The SMG is that like clacky, clacky, clicky, clicky, stock sound effect that they chose. It sounds too reverby and hollow in Halo 2 Anniversary. I don't like how blocky and boxy they made it and greebled up and techy looking. I prefer the simplistic look, which is why, coming over to Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer, this thing uses, this is an interesting bit of trivia, it uses a cut model of the SMG from Halo 4. Originally, Halo 4 was going to have the SMG included. Here, let's actually see if we can find it. And it was going to do something pretty interesting. Halo 4 SMG. Okay, there probably aren't going to be any images of it online, to be honest. So I guess we could use this. Because, it's a modified version of that model. Yeah, we're not going to see it anywhere. So in Halo 4, originally the idea was, rather than sticking the magazine into the side of the weapon, do you see right there? Do you see how there's a little bit of a gap right there? The magazine was going to be inserted through the grip of the SMG. So that's how, that's what it was going to be like in Halo 4. But obviously the SMG did not ship with Halo 4. So come Halo 2 Anniversary, for some odd reason, the campaign got a new version, which I think was also used in Halo Online. But the multiplayer, it inherited that unused model, and they just returned the old Halo 2, slap the clip into the side of it animation. But yeah, so this thing is using a cut Halo 4 SMG model. And I think that it feels really good to use in Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer. And it's kind of a shame that it was cut from Halo 4. I would have liked to see that thing. Like an MP7. Yeah, basically, it was going to be kind of like an MP7. I don't like that for the SMG, I think it's the SMG having the odd magazine on the side of it, I think is kind of like a key part of the SMG's identity, but the Halo 4 model that they created is very good looking. I like the look of it, and I would have liked to see it. Oh, you found it. Isaiah found it. Go to site. There it is. Actually, I believe this is concept art for it. Yeah, look, see, you can see right there. That's where the magazine would have been shoved into the weapon. Cool stuff, right? The Halo 3 SMG already felt really small to me. We'll get there. We'll get there. Okay. Here is the ODST SMG. I'm going to put this thing in its... I'm going to put this thing in its okay, if that's all right. The reason being because there's some weird audio issues with it, and I think that the sound effect for it is quite a bit... It's got that, the assault rifle. It sounds like it wasn't quite nailed, the suppressed sound effect. something about it's very hollow feeling. It doesn't feel great to fire, especially when compared to the original ODST SMG. It's really cool that you can dual wield it, but then you lose the ability to scope. And at that point, what I kind of feel like is maybe it probably shouldn't have been a weapon that you could dual wield, you know, to begin with. I really like the look of that concept art. Yeah, right? Like, that would have been cool. It's a shame that it got cut. Quick question. Do you think our modern 2025 military can compete with the Covenant? No. No. No, we would get thrashed. We would get... Like, we can't even make it to the moon, you know? We'd be thoroughly thrashed if the Covenant ever attacked us right now. Like, what would happen is we would launch every single nuclear weapon that we have into outer space, and it would do, like, nothing. It would probably damage a cruiser. That would be it. Okay, so now the Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer shotgun. So, the shotgun in Halo 2 is there are better options. It's not very good. This thing, though, I am putting this thing up into great. I don't know about you guys, but the Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer shotgun is the biggest glow up I've ever seen for a weapon. It feels great to use. And most importantly, it looks great. So hang on. Halo 2 Anniversary shotgun. Just misspelled the anniversary because I'm not great at typing right now. That is the campaign version. That's not the multiplayer version. See if we can find it. Here we go. I freaking love that thing, man. I like it better than the campaign redesign that it got. So here's the campaign redesign. It just, something about it doesn't look quite right in the campaign. I prefer that it retains like the same round, like the tube-like look. Because the campaign version, it's got this like very blocky, kind of angular, like you can see that it's not quite a tube here. It's got this odd rail up here. The sights are shaped really oddly. It looks too like angular, too boxy. Oh, it's got the rail there, but it's less. What is it about the rail then that bothers me? Something here looks more pleasing to my brain. Or at least some aspect of this design is not working with the rail. Maybe it's just how odd the sights look. I don't know. Either way, I'm not the biggest fan of the campaign look for the Halo 2 Anniversary shotgun. Really like this, though. That looks nice to my brain. But you know what bothers the hell out of me? So in a first-person shooter, like across the board, any first-person shooter that you play, your weapon will never be facing the crosshair exactly, okay? Because if it did, it would be pretty much be like Doom. You know, it would have to be positioned like Doom. Like, weapons are always positioned so that they will be firing just off of the crosshair. But that doesn't excuse this, where it is clearly aiming above the crosshair. Like, if this thing was fired, it would be like up here. You know, it's not even remotely aiming anywhere near, and it's not making an attempt to look like it's facing the crosshair. And it's very distracting that it's just it's a odd, like, that's not a very flattering view model, you know? It doesn't look flattering, and it's clearly also not facing the circle, but that looks better than this, at least to me. There are holes on the rail. It might be the holes. I don't know. It looks so, like, square. in the campaign. It looks so square and like unnecessarily greebled up. Maybe not even greeble, that's not the term. I don't like how many holes and struts and lines there are on it, and how many times it feels the need to break up the roundness of the shotgun. Like, there can't ever just be, like, smooth or round. Like, even to the point that the sights, which should be, you know, simple, like, it has to be this weird kind of, like, there's this indent here. It's just a little bit too much. I think this looks much nicer, much cleaner. And it's... I used to think that it was a modified version of the Halo 3 shotgun design, but it's not. It's a new model. Made from the ground up. So I wonder what the history is between these two weapons. I wonder if maybe this thing was pulled from like a Blur CGI cutscene. I wonder if they had like an asset for the Halo Combat Evolved shotgun, and then they were able to get it into gameplay. Because the Marines, at least in Halo 2 Anniversary, they are using a modified version of the Halo Wars CGI Marines, which is kind of fun and interesting. Either way, I think the shotgun feels good. If the sound effects are really good for it, animations are a little bit undercooked. Like they're keyframey. I can see the keyframes. And the way that it interpolates between keyframes looks pretty buggy. And it already looked buggy before the PC port, when it could run at higher frame rates. So it didn't even look quite there at 60 FPS. So maybe I'll put it at good. I don't know, but it is really, really powerful in the multiplayer. I'm going to keep it in good for now. You praised the Halo 2 SMG's typewriter-esque firing sound, but derided the Halo 2 Anniversary SMG for having sounds based on the Thompson, the Chicago typewriter. Well, yes, the Thompson isn't literally a typewriter. Like, it's a firearm, you know? So it's going to be like... What I like about the Halo 2 SMG, the base sound effects, is that they are not very reverby. They're not very, like, a boomy. Like, it's got this very methodical, mechanical clack-clack sound to it, where the SMG in the campaign, it's very reverby, very boomy, and when it's firing continuously, the reverb kind of drowns out each bang, 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 each individual gunshot, and it kind of starts to sound like this hollow, just like stream of noise. Like, the identity of the SMG gets lost in how realistic the sound design is. And as a result, I don't think it sounds as pleasant on the ears as the Halo 2 SMG, even though the Halo 2 SMG is a lot less realistic sounding. Okay, sniper rifle. This thing is nasty. The Halo 2 Anniversary sniper rifle. Even more nasty than the base Halo 2 sniper rifle. It is very, very overpowered. But there is an obnoxious bug. Not a bug, maybe, just like a lack of polish. The hand that is holding the grip and the trigger, it's not connected. So if you're playing at like centered crosshair or you raise the view model, you can clearly see that like your hand is like clipping through the grip. Sometimes it's not even attached to the grip. It's just constantly out of sync with the weapon. And it looks very rough. And also this sniper rifle is subjected to a bug where sometimes it just doesn't have any sounds, you know, for reloading or meleeing or anything, which is pretty obnoxious. But the actual firing sound of it is great. It feels so good to use. Probably just one of, if not the best, one of the best feeling sniper rifles in the series, if it wasn't for that audio bug. I'm going to keep it in great despite the audio bug. Just because, like, the actual firing it and getting a kill with it feels so satisfying. Like, just that boom, that powerful impact sound. So, okay. we got the rocket launcher from Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer. It pretty much is just the Halo 4 rocket launcher. Not a lot has changed. It's using that design that Reach established for the rocket launcher. I think that it feels more like a Halo Reach and Halo 4 rocket launcher that has the Halo 2 tracking abilities than it does the Halo 2 rocket, to be honest. Because in Halo 2, what I really like about the rocket launcher, it's not very realistic, but I like that it's, when you fire it, it's not like a bang, it's not an explosion like a gunshot and then the rocket flies out, which is how it typically sounds. It's like a cartoon whoosh, like a bazooka. You release the rocket, and so the most important sound you hear is the whoosh of the rocket flying off. Where in Halo 2 Anniversary, because, it's following on from Halo 4 as well as Halo 2 Anniversary campaign, it's doing the more realistic thing where what you're going to hear is a bang of the ignition of the rocket. But I don't think that that's quite as satisfying as just the cartoon bazooka style whoosh of the rocket leaving the barrel. It feels good to get kills with it, though. You fire it, sparks go everywhere. Like the fireball explosion is so great. Feels really good to get kills with this thing. And it's got that lock on, so I'm going to keep it in great. All right, the carbine. Here's where things get a little bit nitpicky, okay? I'm putting it in it's okay. I might be bullied into bumping it back up. The reason I'm putting it into it's okay is because it is just the Halo 4 carbine, but there are aspects of it that, okay, so off the bat, it's not really in the spirit of the Halo 2 carbine because it's just the Halo 4 carbine model, which, I told you, like those two circular holes, the colors of it, the look of the ammo counter and everything. But then if we think about it from Halo 4's perspective, it also does a disservice to the Halo 4 model because it downgrades that. It removes certain aspects of detail that I think were actually pretty cool about the Halo 4 carbine, such as the detail that its ammo counter actually counts down in the Covenant's language. So if you look online and look at like the numerical symbols for the Covenant, this carbine in Halo 4 will actually count down in real time as you fire the trigger to 0. But when it was ported to Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer, they just didn't know that. So the ammo counter is stuck. I can't remember exactly how many shots it has. I think 17 or something like that. So it's stuck at the number 17 and it will never count down, probably because they didn't know what those holograms meant. They didn't know what the symbols meant. Where does Flash Freeze Chinos figure? Oh my god, I forgot about that character. He's going to go into important, to be honest. Yeah, so the Halo 2 Anniversary carbine, it's, man, it is good. Like, you can get kills with it. It does the job, but I don't know, man. I like the petty, vindictive part of me wants to drop it in it's okay because I feel like the carbine deserved a lot better. If it was going to be just the Halo 4 carbine ported into Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer, the details should have mattered. If you were going to do a carbine that feels like the Halo 2 carbine, you should have remade the model. This is just like a lazy in-between, basically. And I don't like it. Even though, it can put in the damage if you use it. So, I don't know, guys. What do I do with it? I'm going to put it and let me think on it. I might feel relaxed later. Okay, plasma rifle for Halo 2 Anniversary. The plasma rifle in Halo 2 Anniversary, I don't like the weird, like, it's got this, the sound effect for it is really odd in a way that I can't quite describe. It's very high-pitched, And the way that it's mixed makes me feel that this thing is more powerful than it actually is, that it's dishing out more damage than it actually is. It doesn't feel quite right to use. And I don't actually like when it has overheated and the two fins come out of the side. There's like this weird goo effect that it added to them where you can like see strings of goo, which might be an attempt at animating kind of like a mist, but the way it was animated doesn't look quite right. Like, it's okay, but I think also just for balancing purposes, in Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer, something about it feels off. It doesn't feel quite as good to use as the original Halo 2 plasma rifle. Maybe somebody else can comment on it, but... Okay, plasma pistol from Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer. This thing is nasty, but it is not nearly as nasty as the Halo 2 original version. So I'm going to put it... The reason it's not as nasty is because it has a built-in limit on how long you can overcharge it. It won't drain the battery, but there is a limit, and once that limit runs out, the pistol kind of backfires and overheats. It is still just as, like, you know, the tracking is just as good, but it also uses a different model. What it uses is the Halo 4 model, which is via, you know, asset sharing, the Halo Reach model. So it's got that, like, little fin on the top of it. They've recolored it a little bit to kind of match the Halo 2 plasma pistol, but the colors aren't quite right. But I appreciate the attempt, at least, you know, but the colors are not quite right. There needs to be more of a pearlescent purple sheen to it. But I think I'm gonna... Yeah, it's great. Like, it is... Now... I'm gonna put it in great, because it is, when you see it on the ground in Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer, it is a good idea to keep that thing in your back pocket. So, okay, we'll put it there. If there's anybody who has anything to say... Gosh, what's that quote from Galvatron in the Transformers movie? After he kills Starscream. What does he say? Does anybody else something, something, something? Okay, the Needler, the Halo 2 Anniversary Needler. There are better options, I think is fair, right? Like, it doesn't feel that great to use just because it's, you know, balanced kind of like the original Halo 2 Needler. I feel that... I don't know. It's just, it is what it is. Peace through tyranny? Take a hint. No. That's before he killed Starscream. And he said, here's a hint. Because, he shows up and he's like, Coronation Starscream, this is bad comedy. And then Starscream's like,
Megatron, is that you?
and then he's like, here's a hint. And then he transforms into a little turret and then blasts Starscream. And then Starscream dies, and then he turns to the crowd and he says something. He's like, does anyone else something, something, something? Does anyone else want to fill his shoes? Maybe. Was that the quote? Gosh, Leonard Nimoy was so good as Galvatron in that movie. Okay, beam rifle for Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer. Wait, this is the campaign version. This is the campaign version. Because if it is the multiplayer version, I do not like that they just slapped the Halo 4 model on. And this isn't even like an art style debate thing. It's more of like the weapon's individual identities thing. Like, the Halo 4 beam rifle is not the same as the old beam rifles. It has its own unique look that was exclusive to it. So, like, placing the different model, it's kind of like a more extreme version of the carbine. Where the carbine, at least there are enough similarities to where the Halo 4 carbine made tweaks to the original design. The Halo 4 beam rifle, though, is a dramatic redesign of the beam rifle to the point that it is a very different feeling weapon. So placing it in Halo 2 Anniversary, I don't agree with that creative choice. That being said, it's good feeling. Like, it's powerful. You know, it's really easy to tear things up with this thing. What do you guys think? Good? I just watched Beast Wars Transformers. I thought animals were more interesting and fun as a kid. Dude, Beast Wars is... I can't pick between Transformers Animated and Beast Wars as far as my favorite show. My favorite Transformers show is concerned. Either way, let's go on to the fuel rod gun. It's a fuel rod gun. It belongs here. That being said, it is the Reach fuel rod gun, which I don't think is appropriate. Just because, you know, that Halo 2 fuel rod gun, it's got that very specific design to it, where Reach kind of leaned really into this organic look. And, you know, kind of like the beam rifle, if you're going to be doing Halo 2 Anniversary, I don't like that you're just taking assets from a different game with a different aesthetic look and just pasting over. You know, I would prefer that you'd make a new model in the style of the original. Just higher poly. Sounds like a wild card. It's another comfy LNG stream episode. Oh, that's nice of you to say. Fuel Rod from Reach was just like Halo 3, in my opinion. Mechanically, maybe, but aesthetically, texturally, that feel, that indescribable feel, they're very different feeling weapons. Like, you can see here, it almost looks like a musical instrument, kind of. Like, it's got this, like, tube, kind of, or like, okay, you know when you're gonna give someone a kiss, and you, like, pucker your lips? That's what the fuel rod gun from Halo Reach looks like. It looks like it's puckering up for, like, a kiss. Where this thing looks more like a I don't even know how to describe it. It's got, like, this weird arch thing that's going back here. The front of it is kind of, like, hanging all... It's just, like, a very odd, it looks like it was made out of, like, hamster tubes or, like, you know, Tinker Toys or something. It's a very odd kind of look for the web. That's to say that they feel very different to me because of their design. Okay, real question this time. Remember when ODST, the cop tells you to stay put, and if you follow him, Virgil says crime doesn't pay, and when you kill him, what was he hiding? Was he trying to kill the rookie? So that is a corrupt cop in ODST. If you find all of the audio files, you learn that the police commissioner of Mombasa in the Halo universe, he is corrupt, and the superintendent that ran the city, the AI, Sadie, the little girl that is the main character of the audio recordings, her dad made the superintendent, and the corrupt cop wanted to basically use the chaos to get the girl, you know, and they killed her father. And so what that corrupt cop was doing that you find, he is trying basically to go confirm that the father is dead or something. That's why if you follow him, he turns on you and starts firing at you. Because you find him next to the dead body, and he's like, no witnesses, so he tries to put you down. And that's why, if you don't find all the audio tapes, Virgil goes ahead and kills him for you by trapping him, like locking the door, and trapping him in a room full of drones. And then the drones kill him. And then Virgil says, crime doesn't pay. Or the superintendent, I should say. Have you played Transformers Devastation? I have. Transformers Devastation is awesome. Whoa, late night, you've kissed someone? I'm jealous. Yeah, I get to kiss my wife every day, guys. It's awesome. We kiss. Okay, Brute Shot for Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer. The Brute Shot in Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer just feels good, dude. Like, my monkey brain freaking loves the feeling of this thing. I think that it is a nice upgrade over the original Brute Shot. Feels great to use. Reload animation looks awesome and detailed. Like, it, and as well as like the new model that it got is great looking. It just feels good. It's really good. I freaking love this thing. Nothing else needs to be said. Energy Sword? Energy Sword I freaking love. Like, I love the look of the Halo 2 Anniversary Energy Sword. I love that it is almost white because of how hot the blade is. It feels good to use. The only downside is that it does not have that classic when you ignite it, you know? It is great feeling, though. I freaking love it. The Infected Energy Sword, it's okay. I think the problem with it is that it's so dark. I almost wish that it was more of like a pink color because it's so hot, but it also retains that red color that it's almost glowing pink, you know? Like, it is fundamentally the same weapon, but I think presentationally, the dull red, it's not quite how light works, you know? Like, take a red flashlight or something. Or, you know what? I've got a great analogy. Listen, we're all dudes here being guys, right? You all, I assume, at some point have played with, have owned, or have seen somebody who owned a toy lightsaber that glows up, right? If you're going to go outside on your front lawn and have a lightsaber fight with the neighborhood kids, like, fellow neighborhood kids, I should say. I'm not an adult going outside and challenging little 5-year-olds to lightsaber duels. Like, the worst time to play with a toy lightsaber is during the day because you're not going to see the lightsaber glow when you turn on your toy lightsaber. And it's kind of like that, where it's the dull red should not be so, like, it's not going to glow darker than the sun, you know, that is currently lighting up. And what I like about the white is that the implication is it's so hot that you can still see it during the day. Like, my brain accepts this more than it accepts this as a glow. So I think that for this thing to look more believable to me, it should have been almost like a pink, you know, because it's so hot. But let's go to dual wield magnums. We're putting this thing here, but we are putting it just above the classic dual wield magnums because presentation does matter to me a little bit, and I do think it feels better to use. Dual SMGs. All right, we're going to put these boys up in here, or where do we have the dual SMGs? Okay, they're there. Yeah, they're good. They feel good to use. They're great. But they fire a little bit slower when you dual wield them in multiplayer for Halo 2 Anniversary, isn't that right? Or am I mistaking it with Halo 3? But now let's dual. These things don't feel so good to use, I'm going to be honest. Like, I don't really think that there's a reason that you should dual wield ODST SMGs. Maybe that's just me. Are these the ones where the fire rate gets insanely reduced when you're dual wielding them? Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. I'm sure somebody could correct me. Somebody knows. Somebody will probably say. But dual wielding plasma rifles, I don't think that these things feel great. These things don't feel great. In fact, I'm going to put them in bad. Just because for multiplayer purposes, you're going to be running around like in the campaign, there are better options than dual wielding plasma rifles, but on easy difficulty, normal difficulty, you can have a good time dual wielding, you know, Covenant weapons, like picking up the enemy's weapon and turning it on them. In a exclusively multiplayer environment, though, this is a death sentence. You're not going to get anything valuable done if you're dual wielding these. if you dual wield a suppressed SMG with a normal one, the fire rate nerf won't activate. That is weird, dude. Should I put it then somewhere else? Like there are probably people who you know are quite intimately familiar with those weapons then who could probably correct me, but here we're also going to put this thing in bad. Because those are multiplayer versions. Should we put these in wild card? Or bad? No, we'll keep them in wild card. Because it is, if you, like, it is really tough to get a kill with dual needlers. But it's not impossible. And if you can get it done, it's one of the wildest things. Like, it's just crazy to actually do it. This thing, I would put in It's Okay. The Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer beam rifle. Are you going to do infinite? Yes. Look. Okay, we've made it to Halo 3. Another question. Do you think a Spartan 4 can beat a Spartan 3 in hand-to-hand combat? Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I don't think it's about the augmentations. I think it's about the skill of who gets the augmentations. So a Spartan 4 could kill a Spartan 3 or a Spartan 2 if they were trained and good enough. It would be hard to kill a Spartan 2. But, you know, in the same way that, like, a Spartan 2 could mop the floor with a Spartan 4, because it's all about how honed the reflexes are, how well trained the Spartan is. It's not about the augmentations. It's about what you do with them. You know? The most important part of a Spartan is that they are ultimately derived from a human. And a human who can make decisions in the moment of combat. Okay, assault rifle. The Halo 3 assault rifle. Guys, the Halo 3 assault rifle, I'm going to put in It's Okay. The reason that the Halo 3 assault rifle I'm going to put in It's Okay is because it's okay. It's a good social starter weapon. It doesn't have a lot of range. The clip is relatively shallow, 32 rounds. It encourages you to use your melee attacks and your grenades. For social slayer and social modes, it encourages healthy behavior because you get out of your comfort zone, you get up really close and personal to an enemy, using, you know, you're up in their face constantly. And because of the fact that, you know, you need to use melee and grenades alongside it, it encourages you to eventually pick up a better weapon. You know, start branching out. Like, it's not like competitive modes where you spawn with the weapon you're trying to find. And I think it's okay as a result. I also like that it looks sort of like a high-definition remake of the Halo 1 assault rifle. It's a little bit too flat, but I do really like the glowing green lights on the side of it. I wish that became a staple of the assault rifle, to be honest. I do wish that became a staple look for it. Here, I'm trying to see if I can find some good images of it, because some of these look like modded or like custom. Just those glowing green lights, I like those additions. I like them quite a lot. And it's kind of a shame that they fell off. But, okay, Halo 3 battle rifle. Here we go. Okay, now that we're in Halo 3, just put everything in great except for the pistol and plasma pistol. They're bad, easy onto reach. This one is kind of confusing because, unfortunately, the battle rifle of Halo 3, kind of like the assault rifle, it's misrepresented by specifically the Master Chief Collection version of the game. So, when you're playing the Master Chief Collection version at an unlocked frame rate, 120 frames per second, unlocked frame rate, I mean 120 FOV, uh, it is very easy to be like, oh, like this gun sucks or this gun is overpowered because you've got so much visual clarity. And also, you've got to factor in modern aiming into the thing. So Halo 3 launched on the 360. It had like a, God, what was the FOV? It was something ridiculous, like 70 or something, or 65. It was a very low FOV. It was 30 frames per second. And the way that the aiming worked was, it was very, I think it was like you had up and down, left and right, and then you had like, you couldn't aim diagonally, if I remember right. Like you couldn't aim like this or like this. What it would do is kind of stair step. It was very odd, like the aiming values of Halo 3 on the base Xbox 360. So because of that, the primary way that you were going to be aiming was turning and then looking up or down. In the MCC, they added a modern aiming option, which let you aim in a complete circle, kind of like modern games and stuff. So players are going to be more accurate on the MCC version because of the updated aiming systems. And the way that the MCC works is because of the increased tick rate, the weapon actually has a faster fire rate on the MCC. If you do side-by-side comparisons, firing the battle rifle to empty on the 360 version, and then do it on the MCC version and compare the footage, the MCC version of the Halo 3 battle rifle will already be reloading when the 360 version has maybe 2 or 3 bursts left before it's empty, which is an odd bug, but yeah. So because of that, a lot of people take the Halo 3 battle rifle and they are just like, overpowered, Halo 3 one-gun game. I disagree heavily. I think that there are some bugs on the MCC version of Halo 3 that misrepresent what the game is. I also think the ability to expand your FOV and the modern aiming settings also fundamentally change the way that players play Halo 3. If you think Halo 3 is a one-gun game, chances are it's because you're playing BR starts. If you were to hop into social modes, like AR starts and stuff, what you will find is that it is not a one-gun game. I think that this version of the battle rifle is great, but I'm not going to put it up there as important. And a reason that I think it's great is because it begins to tap into something that I wished became a main factor of the Halo series, which is, slow projectile speed. I like that in big team battle for Halo 3, the BR self-balances itself at a range. You can't just hit marker or hit scan people across an entire BTB map. You need to lead your shots a little bit. But Halo never did that again. People didn't like how inconsistent it felt due to, hit detection related issues with the Halo 3 engine. And just kind of like at the time, Call of Duty 4 was becoming, very popular, and that game used hit scan. Weapons felt more immediate. Halo 3, people said that the weapons felt spotty and inconsistent due to the projectile speed as well as the messy netcode. And so that was ultimately dropped in the series going forward, which is a pity. But yeah, I think the Halo 3 battle rifle is great. I think that it serves its function very well, but it definitely was not as iconic as the Halo 2 battle rifle. So I'm going to put it just up in great, if that's all right with you. Oh boy, here we go. The Halo 3 Magnum. The Halo 3 Magnum is going to be lower than the Halo 2 Magnum in my mind. It is not unusable by any means, but there are certainly better options. Certainly better options for it. Even on the 360, I could get kills with this thing. It was good when dual wielding. Not even good. It was okay when dual wielding, but because of the battle rifle, because of the carbine, and because of how just insane the spread was on this thing, it was pretty much locked to close range combat. And as a result, it is less usable, I think, and on top of that, it also has a lower fire rate. and lower magazine count. Even if the shots are more hard-hitting, you're going to miss your shots a lot more often. Where with the Halo 2 pistol, you can correct yourself because of the faster fire rate and the higher magazine count. So there are better options. It is at the bottom of the there are better options. So we're going to put it there. Okay, this is the ODST SMG. I'm not going to be ranking this thing as part of Halo 3 yet, so I'm going to be putting it down there. Same with this. Okay? Don't worry, we'll talk about those weapons later, and we're going to be treating them as ODST weapons. So, okay, here we go. The SMG. Okay, here is something that I like about the Halo 3 SMG. Halo 3 SMG. See if we can find a... No. We need a first-person view of it. And these are all just, like, silenced. I like the... Okay. Can you see that? Maybe not, because the resolution will be really low. I like the little red dots on the magazine. I like that. I like that there are just two little red dots. It kind of reminds me of the assault rifle for Halo 3. I like the two little red dots. And that's sort of it. Like, as far as game feel is concerned, I like the feel of the Halo 2 SMG more. It's hard to explain. It's similar to like the why I don't like the Halo 2 Anniversary SMG as much. It's got a more tinny sound to it. Like, it's got a little bit more reverb added to it, and I feel that the reverb detracts from the very aggressive mechanical clickety-clackety-clickety of firing it. Like that compact SMG feel, that not realistic, but cartoony in a way that feels satisfying sound effect. The SMG in Halo 3, it is probably more powerful than the original Halo 2 version, but it doesn't feel quite as satisfying to use. The view model for it is also a lot more narrow, so it makes it feel a lot smaller, I guess, in your hand. Or maybe not smaller, just a little bit more, I don't know. God, it's so obnoxious talking about this thing, because it's all subjective. It's all subjective. I like that the SMG in Halo 2 almost looks like it is using the exact same view model positions as the Combat Evolved Assault Rifle. Where the view model for the SMG in Halo 3, it's using one that is different, and different in a way that I think makes it feel very subtly in a very subjective way that none of you could possibly understand because it's exclusive to me. Way that doesn't feel quite as nice. So I'm going to put the Halo 3 SMG below the... It's going to be good because it is a good weapon to use, but I don't quite like it as much as the Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer and the Halo 2 classic SMGs. Is that okay? Am I allowed to do that? Man, now that I think about it, yeah, it is better to use than the assault rifle, I think, in Halo. Like, definitely, if you see it on the ground, it is something that is worth picking up, because it is an upgrade over the assault rifle in Social Slayer. Like, it's a good find if you can find it in Social Slayer. So I am going to keep it above. I don't like the sound of the Halo 3 SMG compared to the Classic 2. Yes, something about the more realistic audio for the SMG. I find that it's so tough, like the balancing act. Okay, the shotgun, the Halo 3 shotgun. I understand what you mean. I didn't really like the Halo 2 shotgun view angle. Okay, then I'm not crazy. Sometimes view models do count. Okay. The Halo 3 shotgun is not as good as the Combat Evolved shotgun, and it's definitely not even as good as the Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer shotgun. It's better than the Halo 2 shotgun, And there will be better weapons in the future. But I am going to put the Halo 3 shotgun in good, but at the bottom of good, purely because I really, really, really like the design for this thing. So here, let's pull it up. I think that is a damn good-looking Halo shotgun. Because basically, it takes the original Halo 2 and Halo Combat Evolved look, adds just enough extra detail to make it translate really well into higher resolutions. And then I think the one piece where it was like the silhouette of it in Halo 2 and Halo Combat Evolved were nearly there, you know? Like, great foundation for a futuristic Halo shotgun. But something is missing. And I think Halo 3 figured out what it was. That extra bit was it needed this thing bolted to the side, this flashlight. Something about the flashlight mounted onto the side of the weapon completes the silhouette of the Halo shotgun for me. You know, like there's like a recreation of the classic Combat Evolved shotgun, and you can see the potential here. Like we're good. We're aiming. We're getting somewhere. This is a damn good look for a shotgun, but it needs something. Something's missing, and I think that's where Halo 3 figured it out. All it needed was that little gadget on the side of it, and boom, it's complete. That's a Halo shotgun, or the definitive look for me. But the view model, I think, it's pulled a little bit too close to the player in the campaign, at least for my taste. Not campaign, the game itself. I can't speak for multiplayer, but Halo 3's campaign feels like a one-gun game at times, purely due to the sheer amount of enemy types susceptible to the battle rifle. I can get that. I'm not sure if I agree with it being a one-gun campaign, at least on legendary difficulty. But I also think Halo 3 suffers a lot from, like, there are just so many weapons in the campaign that it begins to feel like individual weapon rolls don't matter quite as much. It helps that Halo 3's campaign, there are still, like, a lot of creative sandbox items. You know, I think of, like, the machine gun turret. Even the plasma turret is pretty gnarly in the campaign, but I get what you mean. I think it's less to do with it being a one-gun game and more of there are so many weapons that can put in the work that you get, like, decision fatigue. And so you just stick with what you like. Okay, the Halo 3 sniper rifle. Here we go, guys. We're going to be putting the Halo 3 sniper rifle up into important, and there's a reason why. The Halo 3 sniper rifle introduced ricochet as a mechanic, where it can bounce off of certain surfaces. Some of the most iconic Halo kill clips come from ricochet. It also helps that this sniper rifle has, I think, slightly slower projectile speed than the Combat Evolved one, but just slow enough to where when you land a headshot, it does take quite a bit of skill to do, because, you know, you gotta lead your shots a little bit, and even better if you can do a ricochet led shot. I think the sound effect for it is fantastic. It made the smart choice of not ditching the Halo 2 reload style, where it's just, you know, you dump out that magazine and then slap aggressively that new one in just 2 motions. Like, perfect, beautiful. I think that this thing is just beautiful. I would not change a single thing about it. I really like the Halo 3 sniper. Okay, Halo 3 rockets. It lost its ability to track. It looks like the Halo 2 rocket launcher, coloration-wise, but the loss of the tracking is a big disappointment. It is still a great weapon, I think. Maybe good. Maybe great. Maybe up on the good. Now we're gonna put it down to good, because we'll get there. Don't worry. it is a disappointing step down, I think, from Halo 2. Like, don't get me wrong, you know, it's a rocket launcher, the whoosh as the rocket leaves the barrel, that obviously feels great, but it is disappointing that it lost its tracking abilities. But there is a reason it lost its tracking abilities. Okay, Spartan Laser, guys. The Spartan Laser in Halo 3 is freaking great, dude. Whether it is a healthy kind of great is up for debate, mate. But everything about this thing is... It's like the ultimate well-executed Halo weapon. The design for it is super badass. Here, Halo 3 Spartan Laser. We're gonna talk about this, okay? Because this is the kind of like middle school / high school lunchroom type talk, you know? I remember when I was in middle school, same grade that I met my wife. Well, she wasn't my wife at that point, but she didn't know that. Neither did I. We'd be talking in the lunchroom about the Spartan Laser, and it is the Spartan Laser because it is a laser designed to be held and used by Spartans. It is green because Master Chief is green, and he is a Spartan. So it almost looks like and the fact that it's a laser, which is weird for the UNSC, because the UNSC don't use lasers that much, outside of, like, the Gauss cannon. It feels like an experimental next step in Spartan technology. It almost looks like an extension of the Master Chief's armor when he holds it. It's this badass prototype laser weapon, the Spartan laser, for the Spartan to use. It's the same shade of green. And then what helps is the sound design for it is pure bliss. It is so good sounding. They mixed it in such a way that as it's powering up, you can hear all the aspects of the thing coming online, heating up, preparing, targeting, syncing, and then you get that va-boom sound that's really, really crunchy, and it kind of dominates the audio spectrum when you fire it. And because of the HDR, simulated HDR effect in Halo 3, the rest of your screen will actually darken and the laser will become overexposed, which makes it feel even more powerful when you're using it. It's a powerful feeling weapon with really, really damn good presentation and flawless sound design. And then it helps that it's really good at killing vehicles. Is it too good? Probably. Emphasis on at times. Power and support weapons have their place in vehicle and infantry unit set pieces, but BRs are a bit too reliable against general foes, in my opinion. I can see that. It's the brutes in Halo 3. The problem is like they're more armor based, I think. So you get less of like that elite kind of like, you know, the BR is less effective against them when they have their shields up, because you can see that their shields are just kind of ping-ponging your bullets right off of them, you know? I always love hearing when people meet their significant others in like school or something at a young age. It makes it sweeter for some reason. I don't know. Common anime trope as well. Well, I definitely met my wife in middle school, and I still remember the first thing she ever said to me. I had a mullet and a jean jacket because I was a dork. And the first thing she ever said to me, she was beautiful. She was so beautiful. She was the most beautiful girl I had ever seen in my life. She said, "Are you like from the 70s or something?" And that's the first thing she ever said to me. And I love her. The Spartan Laser is Master Chief's BFG 9000. Yeah, exactly. I freaking love the Spartan Laser. Freaking love it. Okay, here is the Halo 3 turret. Guys, Halo 3 turret, it is on the higher end of good. I'm not going to put it in great, because that would be misleading, even though I personally want it in great, because this thing feels damn satisfying to use. The Halo 3 turret is the best version of the Halo turret, and I'm going to show you why. So in Halo 3, the turret is built like that classic minigun. I mean, it doesn't fire as fast as the minigun, but it's got that badass looking hexagon-like shield turret thing, or just turret shield thing. It's got that spinning barrel where it needs to wind up as you start firing it. So when it's firing, you know, when it's at its max fire rate, it feels awesome to see that barrel just spinning. When you tear it off the hinge and sparks go flying everywhere because you're just like ripping it off, and the sound design is very like metal grinding and stuff. It's a very aggressive sound when you rip it off its hinges. And then when you're walking around and firing it, the way that your screen vibrates and shakes under the power of this thing, it feels amazing to fire. Just amazing. It's easily, still to this day, the best version of the turret. And it's the same fantasy as it's the same fantasy that like the Terminator walking around with holding the minigun, you know, where they're like, I don't give a damn if the Halo Reach mounted machine gun turret is technically a more realistic look for the turret or more practical from like a military sense. This shit is boring compared to a spinning barrel, you know? Love the Halo 3 turret. And the only reason I'm not putting it in great is because people will get mad. Because, you know, it's obviously not like great. It just feels great to use. Okay, missile pod. These things are freaking awesome, and I miss them a lot. Halo 3 introduced the idea of support weapons, they were called, where it was just weapons that you go into third person to use. The turret was the first of the support weapons. The missile pod was the second. And this is why the rocket launcher lost its lock-on capabilities, which is a shame. But I like this thing. I like the missile pod a lot. But it only had about like 12 missiles, I think. And as a result, it would run out of ammo relatively fast. But feelings-wise, I actually think this thing felt pretty great from like a combat fantasy perspective because of some of the situations that the developers set up in the campaign. Like if you think of ODST, when you're on the rooftop fighting off banshees, think of the way that this thing, when you'd fire it, they would whoosh up into the air past your screen, and then you would see them way up in the air. Like after the missile had kind of activated its tracking mode, it would start seeking out the target that you had locked onto. So it's got that like ground-to-air missile defense system vibe to it that feels very good in a way that's, you know, subjective. In terms of its actual practical use, this thing was pretty tough to use, and it, because of the fact it was a support weapon, it would usually be locked down to specific areas, and then you'd rip it off its tracks, and you could only really maybe take down, I don't know, a Banshee, maybe one. It was pretty good against Wraiths and Scorpions, though. So I'm going to put it in, it's okay. And that's all right. It's allowed to be just okay. I think that that is a perfectly fine place for it to be. Yeah, Missile Pod was so much fun to use against Ghosts and Warthogs. Yep. Yeah. Was it not 8? Maybe it was 8. Yeah. And by the way, like, when I put stuff in okay, sometimes it's alright that it's in okay. Like, there are situations where, like, a weapon is okay or there are better options because genuinely something is wrong with it and it should have been rethought. But then there are, you know, like the Needler from Combat Evolved, where it's like, there are better options, but you know what? I don't really think the Needler needed a buff. It was fine. It was exactly what it needed to be. The Flamethrower. The Flamethrower in Halo 3 is a bad weapon that was designed badly. Chances are you're going to kill... I think Mr. Nowhere earlier said, chances are you're going to kill yourself with it before you can get a kill with it, which is true. It puts you into third person, which immediately is cool. Like, okay, awesome, we're in third person with this badass flamethrower that has like a little shark angry face on the front, but it's got no range. And the problem is when you're in third person, it's really hard to kind of judge the distance correctly between you and other players, because this perspective is kind of warped because of the low FOV. So it's hard to get a good grasp on when you should start firing it. It's really like just a shotgun. Like, you have to use it at shotgun range. It takes a little while to kill players. Also, it could definitely harm you because fire will hit the floor as well. You get it in the campaign like once, I think. Maybe once or twice. And both times that you get it in the campaign, there's no reason you should use it against the Flood, because you'll get yourself killed with it. In multiplayer, no reason you should use it, because you'll kill yourself with it. I have killed players with it, but it took a lot of patience to eventually get to the point where I could kill another player with it. It was fun to kill the elites in multiplayer with the flamethrower. So, okay, guys, here's a perfect opportunity. Let's put this in, let's think about it. Should it be a wild card? Or should it be permanently put in bad? I've said this elsewhere, but I'd like to see ricocheting return as a hard light sniper rifle feature, like my concept for a Forerunner Half-Life 1 Tau cannon. See, I just like ricocheting to return to the sniper itself. Like, I think it makes the sniper rifle, like, it's just an extra bell or whistle to put on the sniper rifle. I think it makes it fun, you know, as opposed to if the sniper rifle just was as it is in Halo Infinite. Okay, Halo 3 Carbine. The Halo 3 Carbine is about as good as the Halo 2 Carbine. Maybe slightly better. If I remember right, it either did more damage or it was more accurate. One of those two. What is a little bit odd is that it would not shoot into the center of your crosshair when you fire it. It would usually shoot around the crosshair, but I've played enough Halo 3 with the Carbine to really kind of predict, like, I know where to nudge my crosshair so that I can land a headshot, but there is a bit of a learning curve compared to the Halo 2 Carbine. What I really like about it, though, is the gas effect that they added. When the cartridge ejects, and then it's like, you know, you got all that green Covenant gas, you know, like farty stuff. Fart gas flowing everywhere. I freaking love it. So I'm going to be putting it here. Wild card. Okay, we got 2 wild cards. Jack B is signing off. We'll see you later, Jack B. Okay, Halo 3 Plasma Rifle. The Halo 3 Plasma Rifle I am going to put above the Halo 2 Plasma Rifle because I think that this thing looks fantastic in action. It is probably statistically very similar. I think projectiles maybe fly a little bit faster. I could probably bump it up to great, because it is brilliant to use against Sentinels in the Halo 3 campaign. It deactivates them almost immediately. But also, do you see how shiny it is? Because of the specific materials that they chose for it. Here, let's see if we can find. I misspelled it again. Hang on. Let's see if we can find a screenshot of somebody firing this thing. Oh, there's a good screen. Do you see that bloom, like the reflective bloom from the muzzle flash of this thing? It looks so good when you're firing this thing. That metal looks so just shiny and reflective. I think it's using a weird skin right here. Unless that's like a bug, a shader-related bug. But the plasma rifle in Halo 3 feels extremely good to fire, just because of how nice the reflective sheen on the weapon is. It's really, really good. Okay, here is the plasma pistol. Okay, guys. The Halo 3 plasma pistol, I am putting up into important. And the reason why is because this version introduced the EMP effect. And also, it was maybe arguably the most solid, like, here is its new identity as a weapon. Like, it can't be as useful at killing things as the Combat Evolved plasma pistol was, because if it had, like, its EMP effect, that would be overpowered. So it reduces some of its effectiveness at, you know, killing enemy targets to trade off for the fact that now it can EMP targets. The tracking isn't quite as strong because, well, it can EMP targets. Like, that is potentially very dangerous if it had really strong tracking. But the ability to strip shields, the ability to dual wield it, the ability to EMP vehicles made it an extremely useful, just Swiss Army knife type weapon. It had a multitude of different uses in different situations. Did they ever bring back the EMP effect in Infinite? They did. Yeah, in Infinite now it can EMP vehicles. So I'm going to be putting it up into important. I also really like the colors for it. Not quite as much as the juicy Combat Evolved colors, but... Alright, the Needler, the Halo 3 Needler. This is the first time, I think, that we could say that the Needler was good. It was a good weapon. It was good in the campaign, good in multiplayer. Like, it wasn't, you know, a wild card, or maybe you should pick different weapons or something. Like, the Needler was just a solid pickup, you know? In Legendary difficulty, it could carry you. Really good at taking out brutes in both Halo 3 and ODST. All right, the Brute Spiker. The Brute Spiker is a tough one. It's not great. Like, it's okay, you know, in Halo 3. Like, you could use it if you wanted. It's not as good as the plasma rifle. And it wasn't really until ODST when I actually think it became genuinely like a pretty good option. Because in ODST, if I remember right, they buffed its melee damage. But it will always just be an okay weapon for me. I don't think it was until Reach when I think things actually started getting really interesting for it. For presentational reasons. What I think the Brute Spiker is good at is not really something for me as a player. It's that the brutes, who are now the new elite type enemies, it's, you know, maybe a little bit awkward for them to use a plasma rifle, because that's not very brute-ish. But the Spiker, yeah, like, you know, it's a brute plasma rifle, basically. Or it looks more appropriate than the brute plasma rifle. Speaking of which, I should probably put it up here. No, hang on, we're gonna... There we go. The Spiker is aesthetically appropriate for the brutes as a weapon that is fired at you by the enemy. You know, it wouldn't make much sense for the brutes to be running around with these high-tech laser guns. It does make sense that they'd be holding like a little pistol type thing that's just flinging hot metal at you. Yeah, it can be dual wielded. It feels great to dual wield. The sound effects for it are fantastic. It's got that, like, whoosh, 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 whoosh. Like, you can feel that it feels like it's flinging out hot metal at things. The melee animation for it is great. The reload is really satisfying. And ultimately, it's okay. It's not useless. You can pick it up. You can use it if you want. You can use it even in multiplayer. It's okay. I love the way Truth just holds a heavy spiker with its big-ass blade on the edge with his old man frail hands. Oh, yeah, in Halo 3, I like that cutscene as well, where Truth, Was that when he was like, "Your forefathers wisely set aside their compassion, steeled themselves for what should be done"? I think that was the quote. Yeah, and he walks over to Miranda Keyes' dead body, and he's just, like, holding the brute spiker with like 2 fingers, like he's like, ew, like this thing, and he just like drops it. Like he was such a prick. Hot take: the EMPs disabling vehicles was an unhealthy gameplay addition that cheapens the act of hijacking and unnecessarily slows down vehicle combat. I'm not sure if I agree with that, just because like in big team battle, the amount of plasma pistols that were on every single big team battle map were small enough that it rarely ever became a big problem. It wasn't until like some of the things like Invasion, you know, from Reach, where one of the loadouts could have a plasma pistol, where it started, or Halo 4, where it quite literally was a thing you could equip. That's where it started to become more annoying. In Halo 3, I think the abundance of plasma pistols on maps with vehicles was sparingly low. And also the plasma pistol's tracking ability was poor enough that you could easily avoid overcharged plasma pistol shots. I don't think it was as much a problem in Halo 3 as it was in other Halo games. Okay, the Mauler. The Mauler in Halo 3 feels so good to use. Really good to use. The sound design for it is excellent. Really awesome. The design for it is like perfect. It looks like a brute handheld revolver type weapon. Sound design great, animations great, gun like feel is great. But I do have to say that there are better options. Because I think the range for it is so low that it's really hard to ever justify using it, and you get it so rarely in the campaign that, like, I think of like the most iconic Brute Mauler moment is when you ride up the elevator on the mission The Covenant, and then there's a bunch of cloaked brutes, and there is a weapon rack that has Brute Maulers there for you to use. And you need to take out so many brutes that you're just better off using like a plasma rifle or a plasma pistol to drain their armor, you know? Like the Mauler, everything about it feels so damn good to use. But it just, there are consistently better options. Even in ODST, I feel that. Dual wieldable shotgun. Yeah, that feels good as well. But there are better options in okay place to put it, or do you think it deserves to be put into it's okay? Either way, beam rifle, Halo 3. The beam rifle in Halo 3, I'm going to put this thing up in great. And the reason I'm going to put it up in great is because I think that it was able to nail what was missing about the Halo 2 beam rifle. The Halo 2 beam rifle, what I think it was maybe missing was that it looked a little bit too dark. What I like about the Halo 3 one is that pink glowing strip right there in the middle. And then brightening up some of the metals around it. And that just perfectly solidified it as this very alien-looking piece of tech. I speak mainly from a PvE perspective. Enemies don't have really a way to counter getting EMP'd, and every Jackal popped overcharge on you was obnoxious. I don't recall too many instances where Jackals ever EMP me. Like, I'm thinking of like Savo Highway, and usually what you're fighting on that level are Jackal snipers. Grunts can't overcharge in Halo 3, so that's not a problem. And Brutes also, to my understanding, don't use the plasma pistol. It's never been too much of a problem in Halo 3, I'll be honest. At least I've never felt. If we want, we could bump it down to great. Okay, the fuel rod gun from Halo 3. This is why I put the rocket launcher in Halo 3 in just good. Because this thing feels great to use. It feels so good to use the fuel rod gun from Halo 3. Like, compared to the rocket launcher, I'll easily ditch the rocket launcher if it means that I can use the fuel rod gun from Halo 3. This thing feels fantastic. The material rendering of its, like, weird gold metal Feels really awesome, really good. Freaking love this thing. Love it. Enough said. Brute Shot. Brute Shot also is, I'm going to put it in great territory. The Brute Shot, it has to bounce once before it explodes, I think, unless it is a direct hit. It has the ability to knock back enemies, knock back physics stuff. The blade on it also is pretty damn nasty. You know, if you can get close enough for a melee attack. The Brute Shot is a weapon that I think people sleep on quite a lot. They don't quite realize how good of a weapon it is, and I'm very happy that Vengeful Vadam actually called that out in his recent video ranking Halo weapons. The Plasma Cannon from Halo 3. This thing, I'm going to put it in the same territory as the machine gun turret, because I love the design of it. I love the weird energy shield that it has to contrast against the metallic shield from the UNSC turret. Feels good to use, looks great because of the white hot plasma bolts. Obviously, you're not going to get a lot of kills with it if you want to run around with it, but for power fantasy moments in the campaign where you tear it off of its weird tripod thing, it feels awesome. The Spiker would make for an awesome anti-armor LMG, like in SPV3. Heck, that would be a perfect niche weapon for a dedicated spike damage type for all weapons. I freaking love the Spiker from SPV3. That thing feels so good to use. The 7 wood. Okay. I'm going to rank that before the Gravity Hammer. But, okay, Energy Sword. I don't know if I can put the Energy Sword of Halo 3 into important. Partly because the Energy Sword from Halo 3, it introduced parrying, which is very important. Parrying is very important for the sword duel community. I think that the look of the Halo 3 Energy Sword is fantastic looking. I like that it's basically the same reason I like the Halo 2 Anniversary sword. That it's so hot that it's almost white. And I also freaking I love this. The attention to detail in Halo 3 now that they had, more processing power. When you activate this thing, it lights up the area around you, so it's casting its own light. You can really see it when you jump into the crashed flood ship on the mission Floodgate. You take out that energy sword once you've hit the bottom, and like all the wet sliminess of the flood ship just gets illuminated and starts reflecting the light back at you. It feels so good when you take this thing out. And then the introduction of sword parrying, I think, was awesome, because then custom game communities started to pop up where they would do sword duels because they could block each other's sword slashes. So I'm going to put this thing up into important. I hope that is okay. Man, we got it. I don't know if I have it in me, because it's right now almost 11 o'clock to do all of this. We might have to pick this up later, but we will definitely finish up Halo 3. Yeah, because it is starting to get a little bit late. But Gravity Hammer from Halo 3, this thing immediately important. Like, immediately, without hesitating. The Halo 3 Gravity Hammer, I think in recent years, especially with Halo Infinite, people have started to, they almost get, tunnel vision, where all they can think about is, if I am running around in Slayer, I should be able to pick it up and get killing sprees with it because it's a power weapon. And that's kind of it. As far as, what does it add to the sandbox, that is the be-all, end-all. How powerful is it in competitive modes? What the Halo 3 Gravity Hammer did was first of all, the range was close enough that, you treated it kind of like a melee weapon. You had to get really close to kill players. But if they were beyond your swing range, you could fling them away from you. So you could use this thing to knock people off of platforms. If you had too many enemies in an environment in the Halo 3 campaign, you could knock them away from you. If there were vehicles charging down on you, you could knock those vehicles off their path, send them flying, send them away from you and stuff. You could deny enemies special things, like if somebody's running for a Banshee, just swing it at the Banshee. Now they don't get a Banshee either. but also it had the ability to you know, there were self-impacting physics stuff. So if you would swing that hammer, you'd find that you're actually knocked back a little bit by it. And if you combine that with a jump, so jump, swing the hammer, you could actually launch yourself a little bit further with your jump. And when you're speedrunning the campaign, or if you're in multiplayer and you need to, you know, hop your way across the map a little bit quicker, you would turn around and start timing your jumps with hammer swings, and you could actually get a lot of speed going. It's actually pretty shocking how fast you can get with this thing. So it wasn't just a melee weapon, it was a physics impulse device. Also, it was a speedrunning tool, a mobility tool that you could use to fling yourself across environments. And then, most importantly, because this thing was so multi-tool, multi-purpose, you could play Griffball with it. It became like a weapon that a whole mode was built around, Griffball. If the gravity hammer was any different, if it didn't have all of its different abilities, if it wasn't balanced in Halo 3 specifically the way it was with its close range, so that you weren't guaranteed free kills, you know? Like, more often than not, you were just going to be throwing people around. You know, if this gravity hammer was tuned any differently, Griffball probably wouldn't exist. So the gravity hammer of Halo 3, I think, is a very important addition to the sandbox, and still my favorite version of the gravity hammer. I don't care if it doesn't give me free kills in the game's competitive modes. I think the fact that there was enough room for it to just be decent for social modes, you know, in custom games and stuff, and speedrunning in the campaign, that was more important than whatever killing sprees I could get with it in multiplayer. And it's kind of a pity that future versions of the gravity hammer started to opt more for being overpowered. All right, the 7 wood. This thing is just, it's funny. It's funny that Halo has, like, a golf club weapon. So I'm putting it up in important. Hey, Opie is now a member of the channel. I appreciate that. Opie, welcome to the channel, friend. Halo 3's brute shot grenades explode on impact. It's fantastic. Let down by having a fuck-all reserve ammo capacity. SPV3 did it justice by bumping that up. I also really like the SPV3 reload for the brute shot. SPV3 is really, really good weapon feel for its reloads and stuff. Dual-wielding magnums. We're going to put this thing down here. It's not unusable by any means, but you should definitely not go out of your way to begin using that, you know? Dual wield SMGs, I'm going to put them in good. Like, they are good as an option, but they're not great. And they're definitely, I don't think, quite as fun to use as the dual Halo 2 SMGs. So hopefully that's a decent spot to put them. Dual wielding plasma rifles from Halo 3. I'm going to put this in okay. And the reason is because in the campaign, when you're on lower difficulties, okay, or you're fighting the Flood, the visual feedback of these things lighting up the area around you, bolts reflecting off the surfaces of the guns themselves, just this bloomy, like, it is a sight to behold when you're dual-wielding these things and firing them. They look so cool in the campaign on Flood missions. But that's where I'm going to put them, okay? And then, well, these things don't exist as far as I'm concerned, because we're not counting the additions to the multiplayer. These things. Dual-wielding plasma pistols. I'm putting this in bad. Indeed, I'm excited to see how they'll look in VR. Dude, I forgot! SPV3 is in VR now. What is this? Dual needlers? These things, you can't dual-wield them in Halo 3. Who made this list? Okay, dual-wield spikers. These are just okay. They're okay. They're not great. They're not good. They're definitely not important. They're just okay. Because what you can do with this thing is, if you're firing it, have one trigger, like basically time it so that as one of the spikers are reloading, the other one is opening fire, and you can have a constant stream of damage. But as far as them actually being like a generally great Sandbox Edition, they are just, you know, it's dual-wielding brute spikers. You just do it because it's fun, not because it's good or great. Dual maulers. This thing is okay. It is okay. At least I feel. It feels better, actually, than the default mauler. Like a singular mauler, I think there are generally better options. The Sentinel Beam. This thing, it's okay. Like, it's okay, right? You know? Alright, ODST, Silenced Magnum. Or M6C SOCOM or whatever. The M6C SOCOM, I think that this thing is freaking great. One of the best weapons in Halo. Not best because it's so powerful, but best because I have lost it. Where is it? There it is. Best because of how it was implemented into the sandbox of ODST. It's atrocious against shields, but its scope is so long range. And if there is an unshielded target, it's perfect for taking them out. The sound design for it is great. I love that it looks like a Halo 3 Magnum with an attachment, but colored to look like the Halo 2 Magnum, establish a bit of continuity due to the time period. This thing is an iconic weapon to Halo. I might actually bump it up to important, because I think it is one of the best sandbox. It is the linchpin in the ODST sandbox. It is beautiful. Not yet. An SPV3 VR support update was mentioned. Gotcha. Okay. Thank you for clarifying, man. Okay, and now, here we go, guys. The ODST SMG. I think that this thing is awesome. What this thing provides as far as a combat fantasy is concerned, I think is very important to Halo. It's got a lot of recoil, but it can also make enemies flinch quite a lot. It's got a scope, so it can hit enemies at a range. It's got a lot of ammo per magazine, and just that pure fantasy of having a silenced SMG, it's great. I freaking love the silenced SMG. It feels good to use, looks awesome, love the red scope, love the scope to use. I like it. Good weapon. Great weapon. Yeah, the ODST SMG. And that, okay, that brings us to Reach. And that is also where we are going to take a pause, okay? So, can I save this? Okay. Halo tier list. Halo. Okay. Download image. Let me download that. That way I can, like, do it up later, you know? But this is where we are going to pause for now, okay? Because it's starting to get late. Thank you, everybody, for joining. This was a lot of fun. I hope to get to Reach next time. I hope we get to Reach next time. That's actually the very next one that we're going to be doing. So I'm excited. All right, guys. Thank you for joining, everybody. I shall see you all next time. I bid you all adieu. Get some sleep or start your day if you're on the other side of the world.